asɔre da Nyankopɔn ase sɛ ɔsan yɛ bɛhyia bɛma yɛn ho bɛyɛ sɛ 2 minutes na yɛde aboaboa yɛn ho atwɛn abusuafoɔ na yɛhyɛ dwumadi no ase ɛneɛ meda ase. Yo, anuanom yɛsɛ bɛsɛ da nyankopɔn ase ɛwɔ nea wayɛ ama yɛn sɛ wasa ne yɛbɛhyia mu awia yi. Ɛnnɛ awia program a youthfoɔ no ɛde brɛ yɛn no ɔse where do I belong? A panel discussion on the identity struggles the youth face. Kwan bi so no ɛsɛ sɛ if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. Nti menni adesua no no bebree no mebɛbɔ mpaeɛ na magya adesua magya ha ma yɛnnua baa ne yɛnnua bɛrima Josephina ne Obiri na ɔmo de yɛn ewura adesua no mu. Nti mesrɛ mo baabi a obi wɔ biara moma yɛnsi yɛkyerɛ ase na yɛmbɔ mpaeɛ. Awurade yɛda agyenkwa daafo yɛda wɔ ase bio mu wɔ sɛnea wayɛ ama yɛn ewie yi wasan aboaboa yɛn ano sɛ yɛmmɛsua wo ho nsɛm anaa yɛbɛpɛnsɛpɛnsɛ nsɛm mu a ɛbɛtumi aboa yɛn yɛ kran kɔ ɔwɔ yɛadesua mu ne yɛn nyamesom mu. Yɛsrɛ sɛ nea wobɛyɛ ama yɛsrɛ sɛ wobɛboa yɛn na wama yɛn nteaseɛ ne nhunumu na ne yɛbɛsua no ɛnya yɛ so nsunsuansoɔ pa yɛtumi de abɔbra nansa wiase yi. Deda wɔ ase na wayɛ ma yɛn nyinaa na wokɔ so wayɛ ma yɛn wadom nti. Amen. So, Fina, I hand over to you now. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Uncle Abraham, for giving Aubrey and I this opportunity. Also, thank you for the youth in the church as well for giving us the opportunity to run this afternoon program. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started with the presentation. I'm sorry, just give me 2 seconds. Okay, it should be working now. Yeah, this should be. Okay, so as Uncle Abraham said, the presentation for today is titled Where Do I Belong? It's a panel discussion on the identity struggles that the youth faced. Amanda's touched upon it a lot in her preaching this afternoon, and we will be continuing that. Before I get into that though, I'm asking that in order for this presentation to be effective, we all need to put in our input. That means I need to hear input from at least 4 people before I move on to the next slide. So along with the panel, I need the audience to give their input. So I'm asking that if you can please turn on your cameras, please turn them on. I want this to be as interactive as possible. So if you can, at any place where you are right now, if you can turn on your camera, I'd really, really appreciate it. With the interactiveness of it, if I don't get anybody to answer my questions, I will be calling on people, only because that's the only way this program can be effective. It is a conversation between us and the parents. So like I said, this conversation is a panel discussion on the identity struggles youth face. Before we get into the actual discussion points, I want to introduce the people we have on our panel. So we have our brother Samuel Baden. We have our sister Millicent Che. We have our sister Amanda Amponsa, our other older sister Gifty Sefa, and we have Nanaya Kwesen on our panel today. So we'll get right into the discussion. I'm really hoping that we can have interesting and stimulating conversations. Aubrey is my co-partner. He will be also helping me lead and facilitate these conversations. And thank you guys, the people on the panel, for having your cameras on. I don't see anyone else with your cameras on. I'm asking again, if you can, please turn your cameras on. I greatly appreciate it. I want to see all your face. Auntie Stella, you always have your camera on, but today it's off. I would like to see it on. If you can, Uncle Asante, if you can turn your camera on as well, please turn your camera on. But we'll get right into it. So today, the memory text that we've been using throughout for this entire, for World Pathfinder Days, Luke 15, verse 22, that Amanda preached upon today as well. And the verse says, "But the father said to his servants, bring forth the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. Amen. So the story behind this, as we all know, is the story of the prodigal son. Amanda made a lot of points that correlate with exactly what we're going to talk about. So as youth, we have to remember where we come from. We have to remember our identities, and we have to be careful with how we let outside influence affect our lifestyles. So this will lead us right into our first discussion point. Thank you for some of you for turning your cameras on. I'm still asking for people to turn your cameras on. If you can, I'd greatly appreciate it. But our first discussion point, we'll go right into it. This question is for the parents. So as parents, what is your biggest fear when it comes to outside influence on your children? And this can be anyone, especially specifically for, parents who sent your kids to college. What was your biggest fear sending your child to college when it came to outside influence? Parents who have kids in high school, kids in middle school, what is your biggest influence when you send them off to school? What is your biggest fear as Christian parents when it comes to those outside influences on your children? So right now, the floor is open for the parents to give your input. Again, like I said, if I don't get any type of discussion, this program won't be effective. I will call on names. I won't be afraid to do that. So please, if anybody wants to volunteer to give an answer, there's a lot of parents in our church. Most of you guys have kids who've been through college, high school, etc. So what is your biggest fear as Christian parents when it comes to those outside influences on your children?
Hello, parents. Please don't feel shy.
So Asante, if you can please help us start us off with this discussion. So when it comes to Ruth and Benjamin, what is your biggest fear when you send them off to school when it comes to those outside influences on your Christian lifestyles?
I think, for the most part, every parent want their children to be successful in life. And that is what we usually tell our kids when they're about to leave the house to go to either, high schools or colleges. And we don't want those, outside influences like, those peer pressures we know is everywhere. And we try to tell them that if you go out there and you meet somebody who is trying to persuade you to do things which are not being practiced in your house, you should at least, try your best possible to not listen to those people because they are there to drag you into things which is not going to help you in the long run. So we educate them, we advise them, and with the help of the church and all that they've learned from the church, we think they will be able to make good decisions. So our prayer goes out to them anytime that they live in the house because we know, let me put it this way, there are predators out there. There are some folks, who are coming from different backgrounds. They have different trainings in their homes. There are some homes that drugs and alcohol are so, rampant, and due to that, these kids at that tender age, are so addicted to those substances. So we try to educate them, the type of house. As my parents told me, when I was about to leave house, they tell you, they give their life experiences to you and let you know that, this is where you belong. If you go out there, you have to know that you're coming from a Christian family. So that is the education that we give our kids anytime that they leave the house and they're going to not try to listen to those people out there, but rather be different in everything that they do because they've been brought up in a family home or a Christian home. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that input. I'm going to need one more contribution from any of the parents. Doesn't have to be necessarily those who have kids, but just in general, when it comes to like the children within the church or the youth that what is your biggest fear when it comes to like those outside influences? So just one more contribution from the parents, and then I will pose the same question to the panel.
Me pacho, me boa kakra, me so me pacho Gloria ni. Deɛ na me suro ho kɛse paa yɛ sɛ yɛn mu pii a yɛyɛ mpanyinfo a yɛba kurom ha school no. Sɛ yɛakɔ school na yɛn ni abere sɛ yɛn no yɛhwɛ yɛn books mu bi a yɛsua adeɛ no na nkora yi mɛbaawa ne mmeranteɛ kasa ne yɛdi agorɔ na library na wei ne wei gyina ha na course n'aba na yɛatwerɛ na wobɛhwɛ na mpanyinfoɔ no atwa na nkora yi si ne di ɔmo nya wie so a na ɔmo asan redraw nti no na yɛn mu bi akɔyɛ te sɛ nkora nketewa no ɔmo parents ne yɛn timi ka kyerɛ ɔmo sɛ mo hwɛ so nsua deɛ mo ba ha adeɛ a mo yɛ deɛ sɛ ehu pa o nyɛ no koraa so agobɔne ɛno nti no ɛbra yɛn mɛn mpanyinfoɔ yi ekɔ school no woyam hyehyɛw sɛ na we deɛ na wɔn kɔyɛ ne hɔ yi ɛne nkora bɔne nsɛm edunum basabasabasa ne sɛdeɛ wɔn si yiyɛ wɔn ho ɛne etire ebi a wɔn betwa agu so ne wohu a na kyerɛ sɛ wakoma ɛyɛ wo ya ɛne sɛbi deɛ abɛka ho yɛ a gay ne lesbian so na woyam hyehyɛw sɛ saa de no nti nkora yi kɔ wɔn betumi afɛsi ne sɛn ɛno nti na ɛno nso yɛ dadwen kɛseɛ paa na yɛdwen ho meda ase.
Thank you so much for the input. Now to the panel. You all give your answers. So what is, or for those who are still in college, or what was your biggest fear when it came to outside influence on your lifestyle? So going into college or wherever it is that you were, like, what did you fear the most? What did you feel would be the biggest struggle when it comes to outside influence on your lifestyle? So I don't know if you guys want to go in order with how I presented the names, or you can all just answer if you are ready. So Samuel, Millicent, Amanda, Gifty, and Nanayao. Whoever wants to go first.
Hello.
Well, yeah.
I guess I will start. So I'm guessing my biggest fear was like not telling them I was a Christian, but explaining what Seventh-day Adventist was. Because like most of us as the youth, we were born Seventh-day Adventists, and our parents, some of them became Seventh-day Adventists. So the biggest fear is actually like explaining to them what Seventh-day Adventist is, the things we do, the things we don't do, what I eat, what I don't eat, my body being the temple of the God, like explaining to them and making them understand. Because if I tell someone I'm a Christian, oh, I'm a Christian too, but then I go to church on Saturdays, I have to, my time right. So on the Sabbath day, I'm completely free. And even though sometimes being away for school, don't having the opportunity to go to church every Saturday, but still making sure that I'm not stuck doing all my assignments on Sabbath. So like, trying to explain to them what Seventh-day Adventist is and like what being an Adventist means to me. So I feel like that was like, the biggest fear and like struggle when I was in college.
Thank you, Samuel.
Yeah. Okay. I feel I kind of like I kind of like want to say something what Melissa just said. The main as Mr. Santos also said, there's people in college that from different backgrounds, different kind of ethnic groups. They were raised differently. People were raised with drugs in their homes and all that. It was at the point that we growing as a Christian. Like my fear was going to college and losing track as a Christian. You know what I mean? So it's like you go to college and you're like worried about these worldly things that are going on in college, all these things, and then you're like, wow, how do I keep my academics? How do I maintain myself as a Christian and also excelling in life? So that was one of my biggest fear, going to college and losing my track as a Christian.
All right, thank you, Amanda.
All right, in terms of kakra, I kind of say I didn't really face a struggle. It was just because not people around me, they were very inspiring. No, you're very encouraging of my faith and my beliefs. In na church and so I know more no. They now to me ne students no eka send me a beliefs na esi etre esi chira no. I didn't really struggle. Send me explaining me why trouble. Until no more go out or more na. They don't really call me say, oh man, let's go here, let's do this, because they know say I'm not gonna join them to do all that. But in academics, no, so no, not I was focusing on that more than my social life. But in some cases, no situations be and I say events be because and contradicting my beliefs and I say my faith, I go to it because I know say about me and I say be improving my knowledge about the world and other people in school.
Thank you. And then last but not least, Gifty.
I think so. As for me, I didn't really have any fear in going to college, and I think so it was mostly because I was born into the church. SDA is all I know. And going into college, it was, I think so to me, transition was a lot easier for me. And then like Amanda said, and Kofa now around me, they were super supportive. Like I remember saying me share my roommate, no say, Gifty, so like when you go to church, me so Saturdays, no, so really people do that. And I say, yeah. And then I say about why, and I make catching so well. The church and maybe new man when she understood it, and even sometimes the crab on team grandpa and as I say, baby course on Saturdays and as a Friday night, Nanko who invites me, she would be the one to say no, she can't go. She's a Seventh-day Adventist, And so I think that for me it was a lot easier because of the people now I had around me going in. And I mean just now was more concerned with the reason why I'm a core college rather than other stuff, Into why did I go to college? I went to college to get a degree, right? Into to me, I did what I went to do. Of course, there were times that you would just have to, if there was like no contradictions, of course you can do stuff, go out, do whatever. But it was done. But I think that I did all that with, in the back of my mind, with that notion that I'm a Seventh-day Adventist and I can and cannot do these kind of things. So I think that with me, that's it.
All right, and then Nana Yao, question if you're on your answer.
Okay. So I believe as Christians, we all have fears one way or the other. Some people might feel more confident about their faiths and beliefs, but for me personally, so one of my biggest fears have always been learning or trying to use like logic to understand how Christianity works, more or less. And learning things out change my faith from Christianity to a different kind of faith has been my fear, biggest.
All right, thank you so much. I want to also go off that too. Like with my experience going into college, that I never thought that when Anayal just said like trying to use logic to understand certain things would be a fear. But when you go take your science and biology classes, they kind of drill things like evolution into your head, and they really want you to get rid of the idea that creation happened. So then you sit there and you try to make sense of all these things, and then so then it's kind of becomes like a battle between you and your faith. But I definitely do agree with every answer that you guys said. One of my biggest fears was just like the drugs, the alcohol, the sex, all of that. Those were part of my fears as well going into college. I'll open the question to anybody who's outside of the panel. If anybody else has anything to answer before we go into the next discussion point.
I think I'll add on to what you were saying about the academic aspect of it, because I think it's not really mentioned a lot when you've grown up to believe one thing, but then when you go to school and you're in class and then everybody is trying to tell you something else, it's kind of like it messes up like what you think is wrong and what is right. And if you're not strong in your Christianity, there's so many paths that you could fall onto, and so many things you could start to believe that you you didn't really like learn when you were growing up. So I think that was one of my biggest fears when I went to school for the first time.
Okay, thank you so much. If no one else has anything else, I'll give the floor to Bree now.
Okay, thank you. So the next discussion point, if you could just switch it for me, please. Okay, yeah. So the next discussion point is directed at the panel. So it's what were the actual outside influences that you encountered? Did they align with what you perceived, and were you influenced by them? So I just want you guys to share some of the actual experiences, the personal experiences that you guys went through that, you know, you maybe were influenced by, maybe you weren't influenced by, and to see whether they align with the Christian beliefs that we had. So I'll say for me personally, one of the few experiences I've had is that when I'm in school, a lot of smoking and things such of that nature goes on. You'll go to the bathroom, and now because of the new rules, there's only one person that's allowed to go to the bathroom at a time. So sometimes you go into the bathroom, you'll see somebody else, and they'll be smoking, and they'll ask you, "Oh, do you want to hit? Can you take some? Do you want some?" And it's your decision whether you take it or not. But in that moment, were you influenced? And was that decision that you made, was it something that aligned with the stuff that you already perceived, the stuff that you already believed in? So that's just me, but I leave that question out to the panel to share your own actual experiences.
I think it's if I'm being really honest with myself, I mean, it'll be when I was going to college, I was super excited because I'm like freedom, you know, you're on your own. There's no parent. You go as you like, call by anytime you want, all that stuff, and it was amazing to me. And I loved it. That was my mentality going into college. And then I remember say earlier on in the core, and there were usually we call college first. I think the first couple of days is all about parties, like every weekend. Newport's maybe then it was the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays, no, because the day I get a chamako class, but those 3 days, there's always something going on. And I had friends that roommates are usually, they're like, Gifty, there's a party here, let's go, let's do that. No Makako drink pre-gaming, all that stuff. And then I'm like, so this is the thing, I can either go or I can stay. And I remember saying, before college, I went to a party one time and I did not like it. It wasn't me. And I think one of my fears, before college now, I was like, so I'm gonna go, go make parties, make all that. But then maybe experiencing, I realized that it's not who I am. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so not who I am because watching my friends every weekend, drinking, pre-gaming, and there was an incident where a friend of mine called me to come get her because she was scared, because she was drunk out of her mind, coming home alone. And I'm looking at all that and I'm like, no, this is not me. This is not the person I want to be. And, I wasn't influenced by that, but I think that if I didn't have my faith and my upbringing, like, I would have been influenced by that. There's no question about that. But I think that coming from where I was coming from, it really helped me to, tell myself, to Gift, this is a line. You can't cross that line. You can go out to dinner with your friends. That's fine. But there's a point to where you just cannot cross as a Christian in general. And I think that for me, that experience, it helped me build on who I am. It's part of the reason why I am the person I am today, because of having watched people I care about go through that.
Thank you. That was a great point right there. Just based off of our upbringing, how that plays such a part in our ability to resist these type of confrontations. So Samuel or Amanda, you guys have anything?
Okay, so Gifty has spoken specifically about the human element that works to influence us. And previously, Josephina to talked about my previous point. So with that, the things that we mentioned were things like things that we studied in school, specifically in science, that we try to link with what we've already studied or what we already learned in church as Christians. So things in science like evolution, biology, physics, logical reasoning, and also philosophy. So these are things that we study in school, which we sometimes try to make sense out of it, to link with what we learn in church as well. So I'll say these are the influential factors outside for me.
Okay. Thank you for that. Amanda, Samuel.
Yeah. I think it all starts from how you've been raised, and then the merits and the demerits of doing things right, wrong, and all that. So it's like, as I was talking to Aubrey about this, it's like we Christians, that how we were raised, right? If we are in a community where something is going on that is like it's not in alliance to what we perceive as a Christian, or it's not like right to us, people wouldn't even bother if they know who you are, right? People wouldn't even bother asking you, hey, do you want to go? You know what I mean? So it's like it all starts from being raised as a child, having that Christian life, and you go to college, you already know what is not good. And so when you show yourself as a Christian, and then people know you and people see you, they don't even bother asking you these questions, because it's all like, they're like, they wouldn't even confront you with such mindset of, hey, let's go to parties or let's have a drink and all that. So I feel like my perspective, I've not had someone come to me and say, oh, hey, let's go, party or stuff like that. But like, it's because, I mean, I tell you beforehand, like, this, I'm a Christian, or like, if you see it in me, fine. But then I tell people that, hey, I'm a Christian, certain things that I'm not supposed to do. And if I don't do it, it's no hard feelings, nothing, but I just want to let you know that I just don't do it. And then that's just me. And so people, once you're around a group of friends, and then there's somebody tries to say something, they're like, as Gifty says, oh no, he's, she's not like that. I mean, he's not like that. So you don't even confront him. So I believe it all starts from how we were raised and then our Christian lives.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I remember, yes, like he mentioned, we had a conversation about it, and I told him, like, all my friends around me, they go, they drink, they party, they do whatever, but they call me like the good boy, or the Christian boy, whatever it is, because like I made it known that I don't do those types of things. So that attempt, the space for an attempt to even ask that question is not there, because they will know. And if a different person that they don't know comes and asks me that question, they'll even be the first people to go and tell them, oh, don't even bother, So I think it's great that you brought that up. So Millicent and Amanda.
Okay, so I was fortunate enough. My friends and I said my roommates are not many on more floor. They were all very cool, normally very outgoing, and I said two crazy people, but they were all not on yet party goers. Nisa no man nearby and say like movie nights, and I say just minor like good stuff via with me on our own, and no pen and I didn't really encounter like the craziness and as a course, but I saw people go through it. No na kakra metimi aka no.
Thank you. Millicent, if you have anything.
Okay, I think Kakra Memeka Aka wanna say it also depends on your personality. Some people are like, introverts and some people are really outgoing. I think so you're outgoing person now. you can go to all these parties and still stay really true to who you are. But I went to parties, but I still stay true to who I was. So like I went to all the school parties, not all of them, but most of them that I can actually make it to, and I stay true to myself. So like, yes, if my friends will try to, buy me a drink, I'll be like, I don't drink. So they will stop and they will keep doing that. And it gets to a point where they give up because they know that, oh, Millie is not like that. And say, nah, yeah, you better try to see a bit mano and sa open. Same thing happened on my 21st birthday because that's the legal age to drink. They tried to buy me a drink and I told them that no, I don't drink. And my Seventh-day Adventist, I'm not like that. So I've been friends with them for so long that right now they know, say, and now they are me nomsa, and now they are me smoky. Like I'm not that type of girl. Now so say I'm going out and they still invite me because me catch them say I can be a lot of fun without me having anything to influence me. Like one of my friends are really shy, but she becomes a totally different person when she's really drunk. But like I'm the same way as I am without anything in my system. So I also say that it depends on your personality. So you're really outgoing. There are ways that you can go out with your friends without, being wasted and still have really fun. And if you're really like, shy and you want to be by yourself, you can do the stuff like, having some board games and watching movies and all that. So I'm guessing it really depends on your personality and you can still have your faith based on who you are. So I can't remember. I can't remember.
Thank you. Yeah, you brought up many good points. Like I also think that if you're surrounded by your friends and your friends are asking these type of questions, I know since we've been like in like 5th grade or elementary school, whatever, we always used to have those videos and they come give us presentations about this and how, oh, they're gonna keep pressuring you and push you, and if you don't do this, like most of your friends, they're your friends for a reason. They're not going to give you ultimatums and say, oh, if you drink, you're not gonna be if you don't drink, you're not gonna be my friend, or if you don't do this, oh, you're a baby and I'm gonna push you over. No, they're your friends for a reason. And if you're surrounding yourself around those type of people, then you need to go and shift. You need to move yourself away from that. But yeah, I think the points that you just brought up were great. So I'll leave this question out to the congregation as well. Have you had any of those type of encounters and were you influenced by them?
I want to just
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay, I feel like what people fail to mention is like us when we first go to college, you think, oh, it's like my first chance of freedom and like things like that. But when you get there, you realize that like most of the kids around you, the culture they've been living in for a long time. Like going out to parties every night, like drinking, all that stuff. People have been doing that since they were kids. So when you first get there, it's kind of a culture shock to you. Like, how do these people already like know how to do all these things, or how they like have this kind of like fun, how they have like this kind of culture, because you don't understand, because when we were here, like we stayed in every night, no parties, no anything. So I feel like when you first get to college, you have to just like notice that these people are not the same people that you are. We don't have the same like influences and cultures, and they do what you do and you do what you do. You don't have to do what they do to feel comfortable or like fit in or anything like that.
It's a good point. I know Mr. Nyama sound like you wanted to say something.
Yes, I just want to share my experience when I was young, like a teenager. Um, I prefer to speak Tree, and you have to translate it or translate it into English as you want it. First question I will be saying, yes, of course, we the parents know we are afraid because we have been through what you are discussing. We have been through before. Nti sɛ mokɔ school saa na a obiara ni hɔ na yɛyam hyehye yɛn because yɛyɛ pɛn so deɛ ɛhu yɛ no yɛnim sɛ de te biara ɛbɛ happen to you. We were stubborn. We knew say those days no yenim che de ma me no beka ye kwaso yenim de ebeye enti mu ka se ye tse fi kra na ye kwa yedim ye konso hwe. But most of us we failed. Me say I failed. I was 18 years when I had the child. In 9 years school year I went to school. Na obi edi ho me kwa na me free me krum na me ko nti ya kuchia na for ye mate the classroom any dormitory ye ne ekoda ho ni na nti we form groups. I think semi economy adventures nti me da dra well me nkwa sorry dear but ebi si omuniema na ebi yesi na me sumiti ho me nya hwe ye kakra na no ye kuja me na me kusumi niema na me di eche ne eko na amount for girlfriends na omo ba ho no mbisi omo niema ma omo na ye kudidi bom na omo aye aduane ni akudidi bi ana oge oge we he me ni bi we no ye kakra sa I was Adventist na ma bo sukura o but me free fie obia guide me nko ano sa influence na ye ka no enye se ebia na masai ana me ye boni ye ni o but kakra you good na afina na ye T6 ase na ye hunu bi da ye nye bi da nti ye ti na ebi o ho na ye suro bi o so na ya dwuma se ye de ada the first time there unim first girlfriend that me nya ye and me dinya akoda wo at the age of 18 years nti enye so easy and simple said ye can say I know who I am and yes I this and that you no correct but influence you need hey and say you no a bit the pill crab to assume one just to make fun of you now why you do so I bet those so be your day on be brave to me see enti empire born yesterday say baby it is no a woman say I had the abruchri the ebia we are police for babechi wana say they may be bro hold my hwe wo and to ni na mu no yɛma ntiase bi ewu yɛ mu sɛ deɛ mobobɔ so no ɛnka yɛ mu paa na influence deɛ ɛwɔ hɔ ebitumi ato obiara I was a victim metɔ mu paa na deɛ ɛyɛ meya ne sɛ ɔbaa no a me ne no yɛɛ saa no wantumi ankɔ school bi wanto education so nti somehow no the life ɛtɛne yɛ to different life ɛna me nso no meyɛ bɛrima nti metumi toa so ɛkɔwie school nti ɛyɛ very ɛyi paa adesua a mode aba yi ɛyɛ paa na tɔda bi na sɛ bi a mpanyinfoɔ yɛka a monte aseɛ deɛ monnim mo adwene mu sɛ nte saa deɛ ɛnso ka motie sɛ panyin na aka nti yɛbɛtie na yɛayɛ a bi akwan bi so no na ɛne na bɛgye mo nkwa because me no I failed ɛnkyɛ sɛ obiara bɛtumi afail bi deɛ but ɛnu ɛbɔ me hu sɛ nko a wokɔ school no na obiara ne hu nadamfoɔ yɛnkɔ sere yɛnkɔ ha mmara yɛnkɔ gya me ne ade no ebi timi anya nsunsuansoɔ bi a ɛde wobɛkɔ bibia but all the time yɛ regret yɛn past ankɔyɛ weinom bi kora no a bi wɔ hɔ bɛka sɛ adamfo bi a menyaeɛ no ɔne leading me to adeɛ bi foforɔ bi mu a ɛmaa me ɛsɛeɛ wonim sɛ mommɔpɛi so yi deɛ you have opened to nneɛma bebree a yɛnyɛ pɛ so na ɛni hɔ gay nom ne that kind of things no ne bi ni hɔ but mommɔpɛi so deɛ ɛwɔ hɔ a yɛgye tom bebree sɛ neɛ ɛnyɛ hwee madamfo no na ɔyɛ gay a nti na yɛ dɛn sɛ me de mente saa o kakra naa no wonyɛ bi kora na ebia wobɛtumi ate n'aseɛ sɛ ɔyɛ na ɛyɛ a wonni ho haw biara nso ebia kristoso mu no obi te sɛ question mark kakra ɛwɔ hɔ nti ahwɛyie no deɛ ɛyɛ paa na ɛyɛ me dɛ sɛ mo a mokasa nyinaa no obiara ɛkasa de si so sɛ ɔno deɛ ɔwɔ ahwɛyie ɛna ɔda so kuta ne gyidie mu nyame hyira mo paa.
I just to wait a sorry, a quick one. Just to go off of what was just said, I think they said especially as parents, when you're advising your to buy or college now, I don't think that it's enough to just say, I know what I'm talking about. I think that it would be a lot more better for you to say, may cast a bang away, say, may carry because say, I know this, that, and that. I went through this, that, and that. Oh, catch any panic, oh, call me anyway. My made them attach you. It makes them more curious to want to experience what it is that who experience it, almost so called caution one moment. And I think it's that in a lot of ways, when your child, wherever not advice be give them the reason why in here you're cautioning them on going off to college, it's a very, very scary thing, of course, because you're not there to monitor your kids. Well, you're not there to see what time they come home. And you just tell them you want to advise them so they are cautious. And do that in such a way that they become part now for because make us so cool school. I'm say and say but to say oh man and no reason it makes us we're not a very, very curious creatures. We want to know stuff. We just want to know, we want to keep learning, I think that that's something that we as parents we need to work on with our kids when it comes to say advice or more on maybe in the class or more.
Thank you. I also want to add on, just like how Millicent was saying, my mom, she always says I'm outgoing and I love people too much. And it's true, like I'm somebody who, compared to like Josephine, I'm very outgoing. I know a good amount of people. And so like, because of that, like people invite me out and they'll ask me to go to parties and stuff. But just to stress the point that there's still a way for you to have fun without going, like losing who you are, losing your identity. There's still a way to have fun without getting drunk. There's still a way to have fun without smoking or doing all of those things. So I just really want to stress that, like going out with your friends doesn't necessarily mean that all of a sudden, like your Christian faith has been shaken up and there's no way back from it. You know what I mean? You can go out and still be a Christian, you can go out and still be SDA. That's perfectly fine. So I'll go on to the next discussion. So this one, I want to ask your parents. Go ahead, Aunt Stella.
Yeah. I'm saying, dear friend saying, more casa there, more casa in more free college, and as a more warm, and as a more final year, right? She said, "Nijina or more banner, eso." So, and a pass a mode a start topic, empire more discussing. Meeting said, Nijina Sujina say, "O first year now walk on, after our committee, new friends, so it's when I say, oh, I heard the type of friends are over peke, and one answer. So, Obi or Nisa more than no. Esan say, on Nisa more than Adam will be out of be an obefa. When Madam Funini Suban war outside a school, no, said it, and I saw wolf, no. Wouldn't Nisu out there about moon in our babeshiano. And to me, did say, oh, more mobile. Say no, and Colana was and another much marna or more pejana or more so ever cono. And so move grandma, almost now for 4 omodium hover bomb. Because Obi or Hodoma, say I'm okay, Obi or strength no, or be near almost yan on yebi. But be a Hodoma. Obediatra, a baby no, or be falling into it. It's when or yes, we are any even, where room we what to my so and to avoid those things, not just say the Amanda so kind or say, Onimbutaya ne one and nisunti or the cool school, no. I dear me, a beboami and I say, Mwame. So, and to no way, no now for 4 qua, only Odeon who be born. Send now for number boa, and I say, oh, mom, wow. And I most now more and I say, more dread nimuno. I say all the time, money in Kitwan so Casa, mutumidi. School Niama enye anase niama eyonu de enye ni na mu chirechiro mu kakra. If I say Josephina mu wo achiriba mu betumi a kire ne say school group bi na so obekọ college say na obe face enti say no start ya homework ye say na fofo ko obefo no enye na fofo mu de obekọ de oseye mu na mu ma ye na fofo mu betumi aboa wa ma achieve wo the opposite will achieve so Anna almost in Kitwani Finance, all the time, no. As I said, more advice on gave me makes me a can. There's some more advice on. And yet the more say, much from my way. A bin musi a binum. It is a bin musu from her. But as an ambition from her, no open up a man questions be an answer never so much wrong. No, much me at wrong now. It's me a bomb. Our Modachin soon.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll go to discussion point 3 if nobody else has any type of input for this one.
One more.
Okay, go ahead, Auntie Monkey.
One thing I mean who on Colano say, like me ma me Amanda near Tonano, me ma whom I am. Like we catch them say, Amanda me kwana me woha. Say ni say. Bibia ni ha me see o me mo hu me sikasem. And netel oni me sikasem ni na oni me bibia. Enti o kono onim type of person a or continue. First time Amanda call you say, girl akoshia na yekoshia no me ne omko ye no. Me hu ni pakra wo ye. Enu nti not our friend me so me frɛ wo mo. Omo mienu nyina na ma friend ma advice mo ye den na me check wo mo saa. Nti akola no be hu me say me a parent be like me check Amanda. Nti o ye pe o say Amanda is here. Onu de wada onu no opie o kota ade like me new ne chat any ade nti ohun say me a parent bi me nye obi like me so no ma bi so say omumpie ne do ekeka ho no nti no and our parents no so and I say parents no so no yen check ye ma no and na roommate no so na esa ofa na damfo no kra betime hu ta brofo ma no etro on fa sem ni sie ubi sa na obeka asem kra ne ba oba ne ye and I saw no kra. Enti roommates no so and I said na for ne omonam na Amanda na for back say ofreda bi oni me kasa like o say ma obai die on obona baso because omo ko ba bi no mo friend na ne course work nko na me say Amanda all work and no play at least one day bi the obetimi ni omo like gym bi ni bi no stress o ho kakra afri no ma bi ho kakra. Nti wo mu ana omo ko gym na omo abai no nyina otimi ka kire me say Amanda wo ko ba bi na friend na onye dey on call because the coursework but nyani nyina ne coursework ne de nanso no ye hu ye ho sa ne yesitie ba bi a ye free ni ba bi a ye ko step by ya wo betimi achieve aim anasa ade a opesa wo de asi wani support no wo betimi achieve na afi wo de nyamesuro so aka ho. And into a point in time, be one Saturday, me friend no na Amanda say snow at us or sorry. Ne friend back who free in different dorm crown or befano because they know so be sorry. Until omo befa no koi, omo pon so a otimi kofa ba. Until with that no, we who send Amanda titie no so amam na suban bi anka owo mu no. Asesa ama Melissa da bia ofre ha. One ne kasa chat like until me hu no send o tie until me ma no ne kasa. But say me who say nke onye papa nke bi amaka che ne say no untimi ne me ba na nkasa na say bi Amanda chun free apply hu because me who say ni say e wo me say me ni fie de but I know say nkomo mu die ne say ne mu si die agro no is going well. And the parents no so yem poki your nose into their affair kakra nkola no yem mo mfom hu ni totoro sa ebi ana wo ye bibi unnim de then so who poki your nose into it obehu ne ekọ. Yes, omo ade omo ho no omo de nse mebre na eba kakra meka no da mwase.
Really sorry, I have something to say and we can move on. Going off from what oh dear what Amanda Mami kind of I think that it's okay to poke and it's okay so before or by roommates and so it's okay to at least be cool with Obana, but I think there has to be a limit. You can't do too much poking. That's just I don't know. I mean, when you say it's going to cause a lot more issues, it will cause some more damage than what you think. Who poke it too much? ABF, maybe quite cause why they won't tell you because they know say or mommy to say another papa to say. And I think so for parents, I think so we need to trust. Say, yeah, man. This is how we raise them. school, mini what dear, I'm a monitor but you need to trust to say they know better. And at the more now we follow up, you have to give Omano the chance to grow up on their own. You have to give them the chance to experience things. You have to give them the chance to fall and pick themselves up. The more now we are involved, now that you're doing all these things for them, it's like, they're still relying on me papa. That's fine. Poke. And I agree, so we'll poke there. And according to what you're saying, it wasn't like it was too much, but maybe advice, maybe experience, and what I saw with my friends, parents, and everything. Poke, but don't do too much poking. And I trust to say, what reason a crime passo. If I cry, you say, me mommy, nothing, papa, this is where I'm coming from. This is what I need to do. Just trust and cry, because why trust them, not someone so trust them, and then they start to go wayward. That's not what you want. You can poke and still maintain your space, so they know, say, I mean, but I'm on my own. I'm growing up. And I think that is very, very important.
All right. Thank you guys so much. We're going to the next point. So discussion point 3, with everything we talked about, so the parents, do you wish that your children or even the youth were more open about these challenges? Youth leaders, when we had these conversations, do you wish that we were more open about these challenges that we face in college? Not just college, but in general with outside influences.
Oh, yes. Yes. If you say, me, what will say, obi kasa positive, but me kasa, na makujina efa baby. Why? Because me kai baby a me feeli yenwa. Na me yom shishimi, say, man fiya, to say me ma, and so ebe feeli. Enti no, say the na gifty ekano. We try say, me explaining each but me kai ma ho din any said the na me beliefs tie pa no a na me nim say me nya dia me feel that nti ye ka oh yes I know oh what basa meet me you say but me feel ye brand na me kwa me nim say oh me di ba me so me nyini ye ya me ka say me kai say me hu yanka those days no anka me ye the say ni ade e wo ho pa nti said the me e to me nti no ebe me de pa say makoda bi ebeba beka kyerɛ me sɛ oh meni madamfo bi yɛ kan sei ne ɛkɔ yɛ sei na at least experience kakra me wɔ no matumi de explain akyerɛ wo na guidelines bi ɛwɔ mu a ɛsɛ sɛ ɛkɔ ɛna mpo koraa no wowɔ hɔnom no what is going on no call na nim me share deɛ ɛkɔ so no na bi wɔ hɔ a na ebi a aha di efi ne yie and I say don't go far and I say don't do this and I say best try to do this na afidie kakra nyɛ da kopɛ ɛna trust na wo kan betimi aba but yet to so yes anu a mahu sɛ afidie sɛ one frɛ kra na minim sɛ woyɛ okay because every bia no ofra de wo ka ɛne de kɔma yi die nyinaa no ɛkɔ pɛpɛpɛ ɛma obi du fie asomdwe mu a ebitu baby no afrɛ kra minim sɛ oh ɔyɛ okay enti sɛ mo ani kan amfrɛ saa pokni a wo kan ama me antimi angye wo ani ama wo nso wan hu sɛ oh mesu kura sɛ me poku kura na enya de bia ɛha adwene bia no a me nyi ne sɛ ebitime dure point a okɔ baabi na wan frɛ kura na obi ɛha mpanifo no obi bitime pia kwa ba ɛha adwene oh ya me ɔkɔ oh nya hwee wan kra na me nim sɛ obeba because yatena cha hu sɛ wo de wotisa anase da bia no frɛ kura na itimi ya ma bibia wie pɛyɛ ebidu baby kura no anya kura na emfa ho nti of course ehia pa sɛ bia mo nti yɛn so mpanyifo ase sɛ yɛka sɛ yɛhwehwɛ mo nti mo nyi mo ho adi mo mfrɛ call na yɛnhu deɛ kɔ soɔ yɛsɛ mo mbra mo de mo ho so hwɛ yie deɛ nso si yɛbɛgye mo adi nti mo mmra na time goes on no afei deɛ kakra sɛ deɛ wopɛ no no wobɛtumi anya yɛso sɛ deɛ si pɛ no yɛbɛtumi anya ɛte sɛ yɛni nyankopɔn ntam wama yɛ mmra akyerɛ yɛkwan yɛ yɛmfa so wama yɛ honhom kronkron a ɔsan gade yɛ ɛwom sɛ ɔnhyɛ obiara so saa na mpanyinfoɔ nso yɛnhyɛ obiara so deɛ but ye nim die kakra ye wo no ye bepe se ye ne mo ebeche ana baby a mo wo bia ye ni ho bia so ye bepe se mo be me ye hunu die koso na adwinkyerɛ bi wɔ hɔ a yɛtumi so adi ama nti ɛno deɛ ane kɛ yɛni bɛgye paa.
Thank you. Any other parents have any input?
Menka baby kakra. I think say as a parent, we all want our children to succeed. Na sana ya wofo nso yeah succeed. There should be some sort of a limit. But let me give you some of my life experiences that I've had growing up. I said, Udru, Ghana, I said, be Form 5. We do high school, no, so after when I near Kuku Form 5. Do Form 5 for now, baby, high school. And I thought, say, for that while, no, I'm just a many. And I even moved to the school hostel, even though I was a day student. I come from a very humble background. Let me put it that way. Very poor. Just say, won't mean to your hostel fee. But if I can be also say it drew daytime or not there, a day student, drew an adjoa. I made them walk born and phobia. More appearance at me at your hostel fee. I'm on went and I say. Student mattress and now to be out to form no other it drew day me a day student drew an adjoa now my a hostel student and a boarding student we school we drew Form 5 I then say we thought that we are matured enough because these are some of the peer pressures that we're talking about. When I'm a call a banner the oko baby no mommy muchi and baby the but I say, socializing with these friends, we had a different perspective. Now, one thing that my mom did at that time, I wasn't cool with it. I think it affected me psychologically. But me, who was our boy. Because already, who said, we be catching and say, my girlfriend was school. Na me fi school be fie na or approach situation ona me kasa aye no na say me susu se manyi nti na me ye mensem ofio ti already wanka hwe na or investigation. My mom was a trained teacher or they ne niema toto form na fe no hu abayo ni din ni bibia na guest hostel. Now, my men on free school by na address here more money when your friend and at Arabia say a friend a tie and die star be room about for any friend cable. Now that time on what we hear any pan on walk cable. Na Pabwe Benson near the car tie nay. Na or share na or matchy na or they call guest hostel. Nko bisa abayo ani din ko no na hostel madam chenze me hwe onipa somasi na mani hu e ko ya pe no yi ne ntoma no na ode kira abayo ani say I just want to tell you me ba ne onipa somasi na ma hu se wona na wo ho and they make kachiro ani say onyinsen wa sa ntoma yi no eno mi wi ase nyina ntoma me we ni na no na me de be ma now they are teaching about friend on a life with now when you best say life. I'm saying say Senkane school ne kura na me kamijai na year. At that time kamijai because na I thought say nimguasia ebi ma dapa say my main as a Form 5 student or senior juniors best school or no uhumu omana o ma me abana but in the long run, no, who say, now for idea, na yes, after me, idea, who could bomb school, no, no, and no, binomo said they are now penny American. Binomo, sabi my life no ends you but that time when they man tiasi, the embassy account says sometimes what our parents does, we probably might not understand it at the word go. We probably might think say they are infringing on our happiness. Because the Oma Yeno, Yeni Anyaho, and any maybe a titisa. But the men so the make us a background and me free, you know, Senka, Sani many be a to me or claim one. I think there, and our life would have been very tough growing up, you know, because and Casabri, I think I will be here that tender age, Casabia. At the age of 22, now I say bibi at safe na wo no be babusua ke bi kran ka me kai kraso na we no nyina no ye niam bia for what we know in we try as much as possible to educate our children, not in a harsh way like maybe you can say your parents here, but in a nice way. We can talk to our children, you know, give them our life experiences. Now the you know, I said, well, yeah, some time ago, there was a stadium stampede. Bia a Nakotokone has 4 bobo bia. And Tokwebi si or park ho, and if we're called being a nipa de now your friend, parents were Kowuna Yebisa a new man on Wakra and so moon. And then, you know, they thought, say, I was part of those people who went to the stadium and get killed. You know, they were worried. That when I cell phones and no smile and they will be very frail and you know no worry. But almost frail lady almost born a man. I say I know my son. He would never go to such places. And it was true. But that grandmother. But they were looking for me. Be a bisa. And the phenomenal in life, you know, what our parents teaches us, you know, they know the challenges, but see it more somewhere it will end as well. And stress no matter what comes our way, you know, sometimes let us take it as positively and move on, because in the long run, you know, it will help you rather than making you to fall. You know,
thank you. I'll pose a question to the panel. Do you guys wish that you had somebody to talk to, or did you have somebody to talk to about these challenges that you faced? Anyone in the panel can answer. Millicent, Samuel, Gifty, Nanaya, Amanda.
I guess the answer is yes and no. And let me explain. Yes, because sometimes when you go through stuff, you just wish that, you know, there was someone who went through the similar things that you can just, you know, talk to about it, you know, bounce off ideas off of it. I also say no because I feel like it's very different. Especially talking to your parents about it, because you feel like they don't understand where you're coming from. So yes, like it's nice to talk to them about it, but I feel like sometimes they just listen to it and they just try to give you advice, but you feel like it's not the advice you wanted. Let me put it that way. So if maybe talking to like my brother about it, because I feel like Isaac is going through the same things that I'm going through, I feel like that is easier for me, because it's easier for me to give for Isaac to give me advice, because Isaac is just 2 years older than me. He went through college, so he's basically going through the same challenges that I go through. So I'm guessing it's easier to talk to people about the challenges, especially people that are going through the same thing. But it's just a little bit harder to talk to like your parents, because you feel like they're not understanding. Let me put it that way. So yeah.
Okay, before anyone else goes, I don't want what Millicent said to kind of get misinterpreted. She's not saying that the adults didn't go through that, because you all obviously have went through those experiences, you know. But you know, she brought up Isaac, and Isaac is someone who, like she said, is just 2 years difference. But we've just recently had those type of experiences. So maybe his type of advice, because it's more fresh in his mind, more fresh in his memory, you know, it will be able to help her easier. Also, I just want to add on, like, sometimes speaking to parents, it's kind of difficult, especially parents of the Ghanaian culture. And it might not be only Ghanaian culture, but just because sometimes when we're trying to, we're looking for comfort or, you know, for help, you know, although the advice might not be the advice we want, that's not a problem. You know, that's not the point of advice. Advice is just supposed to be advice, whether you want to hear it or you don't want to hear it. But we don't want the advice to be closed-minded, or we want you guys to listen to what we're actually saying, and then be understanding and be prepared to give us something that, even though we might not want to hear, at least it's understanding, and it shows that, okay, you guys took what we said, you guys reasoned with it, and then gave a proper answer, instead of some, you know, closed-minded answers like, oh, you shouldn't have done this, da 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 da. Okay, we understand that. We know it. That's why we're coming to you for that advice, because we know what we did was wrong. Now we hope that it's on you guys to come understand that, tell us that what we did was wrong. And we know you're human beings, you know, obviously you might be angry in a moment. That's not a problem. We're humans. But then through that, you guys being parents, you know, I hope you guys would calm down and then speak to us so that we don't do it again. So that's it.
Yeah. Me pacho, me kakakra.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the Masipani program, Amaya Maye. Now, the person who say, experience is the best teacher. Me and the man you know, no man who say, never be another me, mamma, a catch me and answer me, papa catch me. No, send them for so pa. Now that time, no, na ye huni ye. Nemo me ye in the mahu. Sa ye one sorry honey matanya ye walk a new sabi paying for any same winning ano. Sabia bibi koso na ye DNS fem na ye ka. Ye nim dienti a ye ka. Ye nim say honey dear mom funny easy sa. And until no ye no ye nim dear ye na ya catch them or bien or person bonnet ebe come ye person crum higher by no. Monia menina nyame buamona esimu ye na nye menina ye kama. And until near money be or what, ye no momo dianse mo be so actually ye me win him say, ye nina na mo betimia be so dear. But the best place a mo betimia corner ye say, mo betimia be nina so may ye who dear coso. Na yes so mo bia ye one ye de aboamo. E wo some mo catch ye dear, but kamuma ye who nina anka e beboa. Men so media no enti yes mo who say ye pe wasempa. Nemo no se bibi nkoye dia meka obufu ka na obufu nemra nemo I will say it because minim said the aircon enye eniti ye ka eno nche se bia niema bia ye mpesa mo koso ntia eno nti madam ase
I think
gift okay me pacho me so kakra me kan say as youth no and some no omo kan nyina Bobby inti no youth ne problem bebre ni nyina agina say one say yen ye Ghanaian community no no sexual orientation ya asem bia parents ne mpese omo bete ho asem kra ena because ye honum no just a parent cry ferry so ne ba be kasa about sex enti no akola no so that is their biggest challenge me who say as a youth no eya ye encounter wunyi a because one say whilst the hormones ninti ne niema bebre we go through a lot of phases especially about sex and wasem and so no parent no Ghana for obi ani ukọ cassette asema na say eye problem Inti youth no wanya that yina ebia edge ne say bia oni nan for nam ne sa ne man na ebia that is what or person discuss e san say fie ho no yen kasa asem ni nti I say abomination ti no o meka nti obe confide e won a friend emu no any problem no nti friend ne so ebe ma na idea bi ebia no ne friend ne ka che no eno aboa no nti fiti ho no or trust more e friend num because ebia me ko bisa ade we no na obi emu ka che me so say we say ya but no any problem because yes answer ono so no ne o ka no it might not even be something na ebe favor oba no but obetche ne say when coming crowd you can have sex, you can do this, you can do you can obo say ebe do ache no akọ cheche ne niam en say oyeden o kire no nti na kola no so trust na bia ye trust be ko no that is where da bia no ode ne nkomo ebe ko nti parents no na ye Ghanaian community to say sa ade ne de ye yire ye ho pa e wo sexual ho because say sa kola ne hit it tin na no ye start ne ne ka Ghana ni ubetimi aba fie no odo boy man fa this my boyfriend you be power so mama wanra baby abeto no you can do that because your culture nintia but no no unfair so beba be ka chene mama say but this is the society we find ourselves in now enye Ghana ne wo here is where we are etino oba Rome ne de yenka say as Christians ne niam bi wo ho a ube ka chene we na enye but who ne who or Rome to they are doing what the Romans are doing etini yema yen who ne said this is it etina kola no yen sa hono mo ne problems in na start fio because when timi one ka about eno a on timi no me ka hwe biom ene no so na say o makwa konya friends wa bonti na afia koye nsem bebi timi sira mo as parents no mo ma yen timi ne nkola ne enka especially say na make an sexual no mo me enka ho asem because what hit it in there we ye dan it is something they are going to face until no they have to be hu abortion eniema no akoye niema bebre na afia no ube hu akire no na akoye nsem bebre timo me ye mfere ho si ye be ka sa nsem no we should teach them say na be ya da bia no obetime de ne problems no abaye ho na yetimi a chechro madam asi.
Okay, before we move on, sorry, going off from what Mrs. Nimakon and Gifty Kwe Kansiano, I totally agree, and I agree 100%. And I love that Mrs. Nimakon starts for say, experience is the best teacher. That's perfect, but this is the thing. Everyone has to know for now can experience the best teacher. Until us because on experience say, and I don't know that phrase, no, it works, but it doesn't really work. Sometimes you have to let the child experience and learn from it. Even if someone to wanna say, say, I did a quick experience, my experience and quit. Even Akrana would not necessarily understand until say what family will say, this is the thing now, this is what I'm learning from Adiana. With the gift he come about parents are talking to their kids and clients talking to their parents. The problem is judgment. That's the problem. Maybe a client and maybe in school and something about sex or me choosing sex as an example came up. Or best be of so buso mommy and papa when Mr. Miko can make us macaque into any umusa. But maybe sometimes it's just curiosity. They genuinely want to know about those things, but when you say or they be over no of course somewhere else. Now somewhere else, who's to say advice being the macro? Well, I'm not a parent, but different stories, you observe things. Now you get to talk around. When you pick and choose what your pen and all that stuff. And I've learned a lot from Asorino as a whole from different places. And I'm saying then also being the kid in this room when I want to say, hey, we are no longer in Ghana, we are in Rome. And yeah, baby, I want right now. Yeah, Ghana, you may be and not we have to try to relate to this, the here and the now, which is the room, the livelihood room. We have to understand, say, and Ghana, and Ghana, and there are a lot of things about Ghana or Monty, they understand room. That's it. This is the language they understand. So you have to, in the way, they try to meet them in the middle to understand Omomo language, And then from there, and both of you can decide where you want to go, the route you want to take. If, say, together ideas, someone will say, oh, you can talk to me. And I say, oh, radio call something. And that's just the biggest problem within the Ghanaian community. Children are afraid to talk to their parents because they are afraid of judgment. And as harsh and as however way it sounds, excuse me to say, this is the ugly truth. We have to be open to talk to our kids about everything and anything, no matter how. It doesn't depend on the mature parents. But this is even for me, for the future, for my children. Please do not lead with judgment. Be open. Listen to what they have to say. Because genuinely, and I can tell you, say, almost 80% of the time, genuinely, they just want to know. They want to open up to their parents, but they are afraid to say, that's all I have to say. Let's just meet them halfway. Me, I want to say, they are not in Ghana. They are in Rome, which is the US right now, and this is where they're growing up. And then let's use US culture, and I say, mash both cultures. You're meeting in the middle. You're taking it from there. I think yes, Anna, Emma and Crown, they will be a lot more likely to open up to you. I know someone. I grew up with this person. My parents were so judgmental, so strict. Like it was like very, very tight knit. Say, college you buy an and while maybe and then the person just like she's like a whole different person. And it's not because you this ABA I will show one hour, but it's because they say Ghanaian, it was just so close to the say I can't feel like they couldn't breathe into it. Freedom now and they explode here. But Bianca, who close to gap Nika Krana can meet them kakra. Bianca, bet you say. So that's all I'm saying. Help us understand you. Help us understand your experiences so we can make better choices.
Okay, I just want to add something before someone else chimes in. I don't want us to confuse culture and right and wrong. Like you doing that in Ghana doesn't justify it as being a good thing. But I think regardless of where you are in the world, being a good parent is being a good parent. Simple as that. Now, I'm not a parent. I have not even close to that. But I am mature enough to realize what is right and what is wrong, what can help and what is not going to help you. And just because you're in Ghana doesn't mean you should do this. We're not saying this so that, when you go to Ghana, you can do this. When you come to America, you have to change. No, it's being a good parent wherever you are in the world. So if that means you have to be more open and understanding and not judging, if you're in India, if you're in Britain, if you're in Ghana, if you're here in the US, that is what you're supposed to do as a parent to help you to become a better parent, to help your children as well. And it's as simple as that. So let's not try and label and put, specific types of, treatments on, different locations and things like that. Being good is being good, being right or wrong, being right, and being wrong is being wrong. Simple.
Just right before we go to the next point, I also want to make a point that you have to establish these kind of relationships with your children. It's not something that you could keep things behind closed doors, and then when they get older, all of a sudden, do you have a boyfriend or do you have a girlfriend? It's not that easy. I know sometimes like a lot of parents, they stray from having those conversations from a young age, but it's not going to help you in the long run when you actually want to, have those conversations. You actually want your kids to be open. So try and establish those relationships from a young age. It's also not too late for you to establish those relationships with your kids. Make sure that you tabs with them, make sure that you're able to engage in conversations with them, especially for those who are like high school going to college. Call them, ask them about their social life. Not every day it's like, how's school going? Ask them, how's your social life going? Because then they'll be more inclined to be able to talk about these conversations. So when you try to open up, if they try to open up about conversations like sex, it definitely won't be like trying to, barge through a locked door. It'll be much easier for these conversations to happen. Any last points before we move on to the next discussion point?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 people. Go ahead.
Okay.
Three.
Okay. Say my follow conversation and discussion now. But I did back I was say young youth from your tears and say when it comes to culture, your common beliefs are accepted by a group of people. I have it much a bikini. Ghana okoshe bikini Ghana the there are a lot of things that yeah back home or the bahanoma will be from will be phobia. Secondly, me per se tears yes yeah ma many papa no mama warnings baby no and yes paying ye. Name minim says okay my many papa no chances to talk. And Kabon said that they had their personal dreams, they had their personal maybe an hope is and achieve. But because of certain decisions making, unfortunately, Oman to me and get closer to those enyamano. And not just warning against the kind of friends we make, the kind of choices we make. We shouldn't make it look like say, you will roam and allow me to do your romance. No. Because you try obroni mo you try obroni ho moja korona na eba me try me ho bibi ni moja korona na eba. He tells you said we have one lineage bi, there's one particular link bi a ena edi nyina enam enti yen youth no e wo say yeti ase say yen ma me ne papa no nyina no they are trying say yen making them mistakes now or man to me I'm making. First of all no they are investing in us. And if you ask me, so we investment, that's a sicani ya wodi another question. How our person will manage your investment? That's how our parents know. Or more try some be controlling as on be boy me etimi or make many emphasis investment in so. And not now person will go school on to show such in such a career course way. They more try so bet me amount guidelines about more what me be somebody on so be emphasis in future. Now back to your parents and so no. How I honor your parents and so sometimes no more any encasa on certain issues no. They having. Me in particular, I remember saying I'm Mr. GSS one hobby, but my brother Penny, you share one Ecolac. Those days near from Ecolac. One bag. Now my papa, me and papa correct you who condom or bag no. That day no, you know me home. My brother was at high school. Me or senior high school, me junior high school. A booby a bowman no. One mama can mama explain it. Or bow me, I almost say yes, ya bow me. Out of anger, someone catch me and tell me he will never trust me. Recently, na me kofa ho asem by na or apologize say. It tells you say, yeah, ma many papa no sometimes no, and yes, they hate us, but sometimes they try their best to say whatever sacrifices or make it. Call papa go bet match at Jordans go bet match be cap papa go bet match to be. But or share sending me na once or person better life opportunity on no. When to me, he has to sacrifice and make sure so we that opportunity. No, not saying I'm from a century you 10 because you will Roman and allow me to do what the Romans do. It's not right. It's the parents, you know, so no say sometimes you have to be friends with us. About friends, sometimes you have to find ways and means. I'll bet you reduce so much about friend level. Too much seal to share in the house, no, it's not the right thing. Look too formal of fear. Sometimes you kakra mabo friend who say me papa is a guy, me mama is a guy. Not necessarily say be our person but who will try say or get it to a friend level. Now what we never friend trust. No, not what you can answer much because financial parents are only or banker sex and wasem. Now friend do need age so to me or your menses. Now one church and anyone because who feel say it's not said or those things are not done in your home. Now friend a what question. Obaka could be a classmate or bunting. Classmate is also very bad information via or the man no nya bedo that trust na that's it. Obane be ko school obebe fi ono mon komo bia enkomo be bonya bia TV a mo hwe ho komo. Nyaka bia no living a life elsewhere. Ye wo fie no me fie na oba bia nti mesra yen because me so for ba mission house oba bia ma ho. Ba me ko high me ko school mu a odame aba enije ye dwane ye ko club ye dwane ye ko hana ye teachers chesi me ba fie pe na paper manim din ma bet na say because e papa na mama around. But me go school, I live a different life. This is what almost every youth will be is. You go school, we have a different life. When we come home, we have a different life. It is up to young parents. Let's say, to boisier. Now come out to me, grooming. They have to also educate themselves when it comes to grooming their children because won't be impacted in Yamano, say pressure and my. At the same time, so we also have to learn, say, the kind of education and we also have to understand them. So at the end of the day, there will be some kind of compromise on each side. So able to reach on a consensus. So able to me about papa na papa will also be proud of us. Madam I say.
Okay. Me pacho niana me pesa me kan say time na me kasa wie na say ekua nso be mu be kasa. Na no kasa no say something we should let the youth experience go through their actually when we are finding ourselves and we can never no matter what, the parents be the Ghanaian experience there. We are the or the beba because what Nigeria for baby or say what an adult can see what not be seen by a child if he climbs the highest tree. So because I go through all those things that come out better. But people who have experienced
I think so online no rough kakra you know over baby papa jina
me pacho you. I'm pacho yeah.
I think sabre there and is obesha see bi mo.
Yo, na me ka say send your more can say be oh as I say yeah to be a Ghanaian culture and there oh yeah then yeah it will come because Ghanaian two culture let's say only they say the mention of culture na and it is because say what an adult can see while sitting, no, a child cannot see it even if he climbs the highest tree. Meaning, say parents, you know, what's not what he's about to you know, he said you know, so the parents can't do that. So people go through the experience. Somebody will go through the experience or bet out. Now, when your second chance, there will be another person who will be allowed to go through the same experience. One shot. Now would you not so what's the they will not go through way no, please, I am allow parents and so but then I say yeah can as I see a merge two cultures no send your baby now we are all going to try I working on it. Send your baby youth and so no bet me in a band so I down for now. Sa abonten yama ni nyina no ejai me da ase
kakra me pese me ka ewa hani mesrɛ mo pa America han my way yeah you can say American culture na me srɛ bi sɛ o American culture no any die he if you say America no ɛyɛ land bi a ɛyɛ nkofukuo bi te sɛ aborɔfo nko na ti hɔ ana bia Africa yɛbɛka sɛ dipa tuntum nko a ebia Ghana yɛ nko a ɛno ebia ɛha yɛ Indiafoɔ wɔ ha Spanishfoɔ wɔ ha Europeans no ba ha Africans no nso ba ha bi megye sɛ madamfo baako ɔkɔyɛ ne ho Americani deɛ ɔbɔ n'aba soɔ no ɔsɛ woyɛ die ne ɔsɛ mefiri Ghana ɔsɛ a ma wo Ghana yɛ wo kasa watade hyɛ mu ne wo ne yɛ ne mo culture no ɛntontwene fa bra ma ne mmerɛ wo mu na ɛno na ma America ɛyɛ kɛseɛ ne mu yɛ duro ɛfiri sɛ obi a wɔwɔ ha biara kuta ne su ne ne culture ne ne yɛ nti ɛno na ɔde bɔ n'aba so nti yɛka America culture no ɛyɛ Indiafoɔ culture anaasɛ Spanishfoɔ culture ɛna ɛyɛ kan ana America na ankasa no yɛ from my no na bɛyɛ America kuro yi no ne culture na ɛwɔ mu no ɛno no ne deɛ ɛyɛ no na meka sɛ Ghana ebia yɛka ne ɛdeɛ bia yɛde akɔhyɛ sɛ yɛn mpanyinfoɔ no kasa a ɔmo ma yɛnti ase bi ɛno nso ɔmo aka wie hwɛ maame ɛka ɔsi akonnwa sɛ panyin ti hɔ na akwadaa foro atwedeɛ kora no a de akwadaa no esi obehunu no panyin na ɔte hɔ no obehunu akyɛn saa ɛkyerɛ sɛ panyin no wɔyɛ bi pɛn na wɔkuru bi pɛn onim deɛ bɛkɔ akɔ wie makɔda yi a meka sɛ menya no 18 years yi ɔyɛ ɔbaa na ɔhyɛ atadeɛ biribi na t-shirt wabɔ ano pɔ ɔkyinkyim sei na wabɔ ano pɔ na wahyɛ nika bi na ne srɛ ne yɛfunu ha kakra no egu hɔ na mehwɛ ne din na ɔba na nantie bi ɔde ba na mehwɛ ne saa na mbisa ne sɛ atade na wakyekyere no ɛyɛ dɛn ɔso saa na me ho tɔ me meyɛ ne saa ɛno bɛ ma metumi yɛ adeɛ ntɛntɛntɛntɛm but menim sɛ saa atade a wahyɛ na nafum kakra gu hɔ na ne nan ho gu hɔ no ɛyɛ dɛn a ɛbɛyɛ bɛrima bi ɛfɛ ama wabɛka pɛ asɛm bi sɛ ɔbɛpɛ no sɛ ɔyɛ ne girlfriend bi no no menim sɛ na wie na ɛhɔ a ne bɛkɔ akɔ akɔsi na yɛ nokorɛ nso sɛ ɔno n'atenka sɛ deɛ ɛka no ne teenager a ɔyɛ no saa atenka no aba ne mu no ɛne n'atade wɔkyinkyim no no ɛma oluku anaasɛ ofili special bi but meaning ne special no a ofili na ɛbɛkɔ akɔwie enti ɛno nti ɛna ɔmpɛ sɛ ɔno mi bɛdi ho nkɔmmɔ no ana sɛ mɛka sɛ dabi sane na wanyɛ kora obi bɛfa ho ɛnu abɛyɛ adamfo bi a ɛde wobɛkɔ bɔne mu na seesieseesei no ɛno na ɔmpɛ ti nti korɔ ne menka na menhunu asɛm a paa nti ɛsɛ sɛ wobɛka sɛ wobɛtumi ne w'adamfo aka na me a meyɛ parent no ɛdeɛ wontumi ne me ɛnka na ɛkyerɛ sɛ there is something missing between wo ne me ɛdeɛn na wopɛ sɛ wode sie me ɛwɔ deɛ bɛho nti hwɛ bible yi a yɛnyina yɛkenkan no yɛdi kan atusua koraa yɛate aseɛ sɛ bible ɛyɛ ma atenatene wodane no baabi nso a ɛyɛ ma akyɛnyie wodane no baabi nso a ɛyɛ ma honhom mu nyini wobutu no nso a ɔse ɛka anim enti sɛ tenetene na ɛyɛ wo sɛ na ɛyɛ so na ɛduru baabi na ɛka wɔ anim a na nimka no duru hɔ deɛ wo so nika no deɛ mempɛ but nim sɛ ne nyinaa so na ɛyɛ bible no enti deɛ moka no yɛte mo aseɛ Ghana ɛnyɛ hu ɛna ɛnyɛ sɛ asɛe anaasɛ ɛnyɛ biribi a mfaso nni soɔ bi ɛmma yɛn Ghana ɛyɛ yɛ tuntum ne yɛ atade hyɛ mu ne yɛ kasa ne yɛ esi yɛ nneɛma yɛ bu adeɛ ne saa nneɛma no yɛpɛ sɛ obiara yɛ nipa titiri bi no ɛwɔ kwan a yɛfa so a yɛde yɛ saa yɛtena mu hwɛ ɛnam saa adeɛ yi a ɛtoo me nti no ɛma ɛnamantumi esua adeɛ ankɔ akyiri because meyɛ mfomso wɔ abrabɔ no mu ɛduru baabi no ɛha me paa ma mantumi nsua adeɛ ankɔ akyiri me ba no a meka n'asɛm no sɛdeɛ mesi ayɛ no no ehu anaa nneɛma bi a wante aseɛ nso me Ghana suban no ɛnɛ meka sɛ owie DVU no ne first adwuma ɔyɛɛyɛ ɛwɔ civil aviation kotoka ofiri hɔ no na ɔbaa Britain ne Britain mu no a na ɔde baa Germany a ɛnɛ ɔbaa nti ɔde aware ama but meka kyerɛw sɛ ɛnɛ ɔyɛ adwuma wɔ Frankfurt airport ne nyinaa yɛ ebia nhyɛsoɔ kakra bi ne sɛdeɛ asɔrepanyin kaeɛ animguaseɛ kakra bi a ne maame de maa no no ɛhyɛ no so no ama ɛnɛ na no mene ne kasa na bisa sɛ jack na ɔkae na no watadeɛ a ɔbɔ ne pɔ no na wasɔ so die na ɛte sɛ na wasɔ so die ɔsɛ mmom ɛboa mi o na saa tam de na no ɔtene ugu m'anim ase wɔ nipa m sɛ ɛyɛ saa nti ɛnyɛ animguaseɛ no na yɛhwehwɛ but ayɛ adwene sɛ sɛdeɛ asɔrepanyin ka ne maame yɛ ne ho saa kɔ hɔ no maame no nim sɛ ɔyɛ saa ɛbɛma akɔda no aba fam kakra ama baabi a ɛsɛ sɛ ɔhwe aseɛ no obɛtumi atra akɔ akyire a ɔnhwe aseɛ megyere sɛ ne nyinaa ne tia mu a ɛnie nti yɛn Ghana no deɛ ɛnyɛ biribiaa a ɛtan ɛyɛ biribiaa boro so a na sɛ ɛhu ɛyɛ biribiaa ɛyɛ kwan a yɛfa so a yɛde ɛnyini ɛbɔ bra paa ɛma ɛsi yɛyie daakye nti ebia monte aseɛ yɛ Ghana su no a yɛwɔ no monhwehwɛ mu na monte aseɛ na ebia ɛbɛtumi aboa mo sɛ moyɛ Ghanafoɔ ne ɔkora ni woka sɛ wogyae Ghana yɛ na waba abɛyɛ Spanish ni anaa wabɛyɛ India ni anaa wabɛyɛ white supremacist foɔ no bi anaasɛ hwan a because America no menhunu culture korɔ no a yɛde to hɔ sɛ America culture no nie sɛ no ne ebia mathematics a ɛkyɛ mu school no ne school mu adesua no na mopɛ sɛ moka deɛ a ɛneɛ na nka ebia yɛbɛtumi ase na culture no paa deɛ menhunu America culture bi a ɛwɔ hɔ sɛ America kuro na culture ni obiara de ne culture ne nam wadamfoɔ no ni di agorɔ no Spanish ni a wɔkuta Spanish culture wɔn hyehyɛ ntade tietia no ne adeade akatafoɔ ɛhyehyɛ wɔn so na wɔn ntadeɛ hutu na ebi also and da ne to ase no ne ade no almost bi no no unhia Japan ni na tade da ne to da wobɛhu na bi Spanish fo ne da kifo na yi ehihye santade no wobɛhia Irish fo ne bi nso mo so wo mo so no culture nti mama you feel proud of ye said yes be proud of so we Ghana ni with us.
Really, before we move on, one last thing. I think that first of all, no, there's a misconception somewhere, and that needs to be addressed in a way, in a very, very big way when it comes to communicating with our parents. Right now, you said something. What's saying? That means to say it will be hiding. First of all, that's the big problem. Why say what's that will be hiding to no corner down for them? It can as easily be like say crime does not feel like say or back or man or not about my conversation about this way be a crime, but we should say that there will be some kind of judgment. That's not saying say a crime it will be or hide you. That's just saying say a crime will fear me in approaching the parents. Let's make much up. I am trying to understand the pocket to it, A crime that does not mean say a crime. Yeah, the any class where you answer or hide the baby. That's just that means to say there is a fear. Now, self fear is where you as a parent, you have to try to get to the bottom of. And I think it doesn't start in one day. A lot of people say you have to build that relationship from time out you strike nearby. That way it makes things like yes, I agree. But you don't expect to anniversary one day about that being a boyfriend. No, they're not going to do that. You have to have that kind of relationship with Aquana for Aquana to feel comfortable enough to approach you, to tell you, say, Daddy, my boy, we say or say. And that conversation, it depends on how parents will regulate it. It makes my child, let's try to understand. When we are not talking to you, it's not because we are doing it. It's because we have some kind of fear in approaching you. That's just a problem. And just a clarification. I don't think so. I never said so. Let me clarify. Say, so one more Romans, you have to leave them to do what the Romans do. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, say, one Roman, if you name the Ghanaian and also culture, and to you as a parent, you have to find a middle ground to get them to understand. Say, Ghana, saying your culture here. This is how we do things. I know it's say normal here, but and then you draw them back to their whole culture. There's a way to do all that. That's what I was saying about doing the Rome and the Ghana issue. Another thing, Utu Akrafu. Not overcome the also okay, what can you do? You can't do anything. You have to leave them to experience and and yes, we are not saying we don't want you to advise us. Advise us. Straight here, but the more now what do? You've done your part. Now you have to leave the child and let the child experience it. Because they say, but ticket this is why I'm papa and then they will learn. We are all into autonomy. Not almost have a voice of their own, a mind of their own. And they, almost strong in their own way. That warrant to say we have to let them make a certain kinds of mistakes on their own so they can learn from that and grow from that. I am a result of my circumstance and of my culture. Maybe give time I say very cool. I say 16 years in me. Still, Still, I remember my culture. Why do I do that? Because me very cool. I say it was merged. I came when I was very, very young age. It was merged, and I understood it from a young age. But yeah, where I was coming from, I mean, it was a little easier for me. Well, see, that's all I'm saying. Let's meet, and I'm young kids, and so let's meet our parents in the middle. And we need to understand is that they're coming from a different generation. We're in a different generation. Let's understand all that. And before and let's try to point them in the right direction. Same for parents, so we can all exist and understand each other. And we are pointing pointing chronic in the right direction. That's all I have to say about this issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that contribution. We're gonna skip to, we're gonna go right to this point. This is like our drive-in home discussion. I really want us to have engaging conversation about this one. So for the parents, I'm gonna just mention the questions, and then we're all gonna just discuss it to make it easier upon us, because I know at some point the panel might have more to say afterwards. So for your parents, how do you think that we should strive to make sure we surround ourselves with like-minded people? So how do we strive to surround ourselves with people who won't influence us to make the wrong decision? And the panel, were you blessed enough to have these positive influences, whether it be friendships, church groups, communities, and etc.? And then part two is something I really want to stress. So as people who went away for college, is physically going to church, we know is difficult when you're on a college campus, but would you say that parents and panel, anyone, is physically being in church as important as our parents stress? So does going to church regularly help you stay true to your identity? I want to touch upon that part before I open the floor. So my sister and I, obviously we go to college far away from everybody back home. And so our college here, fortunately, we do have a Seventh-day Adventist church. It is a bit, I don't want to say it's far, it is a bit out of the way for us because it's closer to Buff State rather than it is to University at Buffalo. And we don't drive, so for us to go there, we do have somebody that during times when church was able, he came to pick us up. I'm not gonna sit here and say I went to church every Sabbath. No, I didn't go to church every Sabbath. Sorry for anybody that I've disappointed with that. But I do want to stress that not going to church as much being in college really is a big difference, because at home, every Saturday I'm at church. And at school, if I'm not at church every Sabbath, I can definitely see the difference in how that influences my lifestyle. My friend who's Pentecostal, they invited me to their church before. I went there before on the Sunday. I experienced that church service. I didn't quite feel right being in that space. You know what I mean? Because I've grown up SD and I prefer being in SDA church. You know what I mean? So I think that being in church 100% is very, very important. Some people like to say you can do your own church in your house. And I used to be like that. You know, I used to be like, oh, your relationship with God is between you and God. You don't always have to do and share other people. But experiencing being at a campus where church isn't that easy for me to go to, you start to feel the difference between going to church every Sabbath versus, you know, staying in your room or doing other things on a Sabbath day. So these are the questions I want to pose. I want us to discuss this so we can bring all the points home. So how do we strive to surround ourselves with like-minded people? Were you able to surround yourself with those people? And how is the importance of church in terms of us staying true to our identity? So this question is open to anyone. Anybody can answer these questions. Thank you.
So I often say, choose your friends and don't let your friends choose you. And that's one thing I had in mind when going away to college. In going to college, you know, always, and I think that is still something that I do now. I have this idea, say, if you don't choose your friends, and I say if you're not choose you're missing a lot. Like there's a lot of room for mistakes and all that. You know, from I don't even since I call college, you know, I always me choose me now for and me choose what I'm saying. So wait there onion to me important, that's not the thing. Me bound and we talk and I tell you stuff about me. Example, me as the when you're Christian, all that. That's not a hundred bad. I tell you me part. And then in telling you me part, I expect you to understand. Now no. Over choose will be as a friend, that's one thing I call them. And maybe in Koyi, maybe the vibe would be something is not right. And I say, it's not helping you grow in Christ and after you grow as a person now, then you can just move on. Personally, my roommate was Chinese. Chinese. 4 years, she was my roommate for the whole 4 years. She respected my culture. She respected my sorry, some years beginning. She respected all that. On Saturdays, I didn't do anything. Sorry, they had a church, but it wasn't a 7-day Adventist. I didn't feel comfortable going to other churches. So Saturdays, what I would do is I just basically stayed at home, not doing homework, not doing it until sundown. And she understood all I said. When it comes to that day, now that's give this space, that's give this time, you know, for the church, whatever. And I did that. And, you know, and then it helped me in, you know, just creating a circle of people who were like-minded like myself, who understood I guess the value of life, or they have something to fight for. That I think so for me, that's what truly helped me. Just always remember, like, please stay true to yourself. Don't change for anyone when you go to college, because college is dangerous. I'm gonna put that out there. It is super dangerous. You're gonna meet people who if you're not stronger, you're gonna end up losing yourself completely. Stay true to yourself. Yes, there are no parents. Yes. You just have friends and all that. Just try to remember what your parents taught you, what you learned from church, all that stuff. Try, and I think so that to me that's what helped me. And I'm pretty much sure say if we for college, even wherever, if we can put that and keep that in mind, that it will help us, in terms of our circle of friends.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Senia, Timisa ne Wero Ebano. Gidi say inam kwanza pepe. Na efa yema omunyini a omutai eyemre anase ngofuwa tai nyomo susu anso no. Titru pa ne de ejina awofo no so. I was say if day wine no. Oma afan hu say atumfo mbienu na control ewiase. Na baako ebe se odu akọ se yimu. Na baako ebe kọ nkwaje mu. Eno nti de wo ka de wo ye ofie de wo ye wo komodi asuma akọ nka bia no. Hunu se ugina so nyankopɔ na fa o ma akọ hunu se hada kwan da. Hada beboa wo. Hada benya otamfo nya kwan nya tumi. Hada masumo tumfo diamond honhom nya tumi nti bata nyankopɔ anopa ewia nya nwumre. Ma oba no hunu de wo ye de wo ka. Se basa unse nyame espo waka na de adwuma ebo anya. Me da bia wo kwa asore, umfa menda nkwa yie, umfa menda nkosa na mfo, no ko nyankopɔ fie da bia bre bia. Oba no behwe asuon. No unse ne papa ka de maame ka ne papa ka no. Wo ye sa akire me. Se basa nyame tiri mpo de akora na hye wo nsa no. Na wo ma no aduru ho. Afei se basa so a ye ba de se wo kire oba se asafuna ya wo mu no. Enye nyame nkofo nko na wo mu. Yes Christo first na du na ba ko ye bonsam. Eno nti ini pe bia o kan asem kire wa empo e wa so no mo ese wutie. Wetuma ya so panyini, wetuma ya so fo, wetuma ye kwa panyini. Eno nti da bia no wo dia o kan se o mo no ho ban free saa obi a o kan asem Nyankopɔn asem bo ebra o mo ho ban free ho. Ka che o ban from day one. Wo nyini ba no. O de nse no betra se a obi asoro panyin bi na asoro ba bi first o kan asem a emfata e kire no a o papa di ka kire me. Was them yesterday, I'm going to say, Dim, what you know for home. I pay war Piaco school, no. Here's someone says, school corner, 2 for me catch come almost have was on previous this one. Or more control school, but I go home near Bambo, with my dinkum. Me manina call me on Crumencia, your mammy. We cannot call the quiet Z. Walk on, almost say, you was going to say, and yet. And no what Mr. Jeffy, what the betty over who is for you to who could go up by a boat and man call. Now, Mamma called me by quiet school. No, now what was me? Now, what me say, be Uncle Sano. What me say, be able to crack over quack him by me banner. Now, the call by Cobessa, prayer, some prayer nine was so quite senior be, because Bob Raboni. Hey, let me phrase near no, my friend her head. I'm saying that me ba from APS e ka chiri amabo o test me so o so ma for finance school no ebono na omo atwea branch so man won kese pa ye no ko e da bia okọ Cape Coast University me free to car free Kumasi Cape Coast bo sumi bia ko embassy ni Mexico e dia ofo no ha obo out ya na ba school be ko ziba hezia ko ziba sa henum obi ko sara ba school te basa be jinsemu e nti mo mayem manyamia asudi odi ahye yensa no yen fast during chere ma no yen chon kwan fa mo nto fidie num obedi nkunim ya no nko bre bia no ma baranti ase se o yamde hye kronkron ye ka mamre ho asem amamre o gana edi die Nyankopɔn no saa de wa ha amamre a eni nyamso ebo ebra fa high omoka basa wi aba omonta de won ayo ho kire no wa hia ba besua ba mo se nyame nkrofo ahia ho yie edi ni die ma yempanyimfo ebre so tie mpanyimfo akwa nkire se basa imagine se mu nyanko pada ma mo fensi nyanko pada ma me no nkure nsia no obia ko school kama we university kama bodri ka abi kwa professors as a sia no obi enyina bonten minti mo mfro bi so yo edenda oba ware kama akwanfo kama ne mako fefefe ebi say from day one am chase e chase sa akwan so a ye din kugo ye ba be hu nyankopon wonya fa hodie ye wonya fa hodie be nya asomdwie na ye be nya wonya ko pay heaven onkrum die merase
yeah sebebre ene afutu a ode amaye adafro ye ni je ho pa say we want to reason with you said the city bia no ye pese monya santi ase no me ba root e wo relationship bia minya no fie kra no na wa test me say na wo ba wo questions be say me ansa na yo ko hu school bia no parents be fie na when discuss or no when discuss and honton the course or classroom bia everything because we have that open dialogue. And that's what we want parents to have with their children because the idea is here. It will come through your discussion or say the also advice be one with me at the abua or man. A parent be say yes sir, let us practice it. Let's open the doors for our kids to come in to express their views to us because idea be I be or show so omopo bi enacted. One opinion up manoa obeko abontin will be on any bidding common or on any edding common. Secondly, so say the year can was semi when say obone for no or any free for pa. Na me wo school no ya de ye kɔ ne anyi because ye no ye kɔ no na ye wo yere wo ma eno nti no de mo ka ho asɛm we didn't face it wo mo no kwa kɔ ye adwuma kra na bosom ya so atua rent wo hɔ no asa ba betua bi wa ha se ye ba se bi ya ye nko school a me kɔ na me kita ka nti me na me tu ka na ma sesa nkɔfo de wo kɔ nti these kind of things are e bi amomo fa mu no ye no ne anyinyi nti no ye nhunu saa wo hawe. However, like-minded people, no, it's not that the devil find a work for an idle-handed, you know. As at most, you know, and at all times, you know, we'll try as much as possible. Like a gift seekers and will say, you have to choose your friends. Don't let your friends choose you, because so one, you know, sir. Now my friends need to choose you, baby. You know, becon, and you'll be an energy form. Jesus more kasano na more kasa bia. Obi wo hɔ a obetumi akɔ party bi e wo wiase bi nanso no onye bɔne obi nso wo hɔ a ɔkɔ baako a but ka ehunu sɛ peer pressure wo hɔ na adeɛ bi a ɔbɔnsam wiase ne yɛwɔ no nti asɔpani kasa sisia no na ɔka sɛ esum atumfuo mmienu tumi mmienu na edi wiase yi so onyankopɔn deɛ ne ɔbɔnsam deɛ na de bi ɔbɔnsam na ɔpɛ watwem. And then what they also want thing almost say no now you are drifting. And on I say we are very, 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 very careful. So say there's a saying say the original menino no original sorono. The owo form on who denting. The anytime be our person pulu no obet me at what one menino. No, when you say ne circle no so yeah on dormitory hono we event saying SDA ena ono ti hobi omo maka nyina nti no eye dan ya no ade omo ye na ebi be ofe na ekoso eye ofe ni nyina no na enya wadwen so demdi nti you're very careful especially at this tender age I feel our mind need develop because you go through a lot of stages and some of the stages, you know, sometimes you want to experience it and yes and say we'll go through developmental stages, you know. The appearance, you know, sometimes it probably might be harsh, but you have to take it now, make you turn in your life because say, me Buffalo, me a research be near bisa class or say, you perceive who or more, receive lashes and that. Na a researcher, a psychology class, a person who are more born that, parents are born with that. abrofo e wo dem ho nyina no so o receive lashes bibifo e wo ho nyina se ye mo da now the conclusion of we no a woman no say we no research na ye na kire what him say twice they get being trained at home a church room say we say ya mfonso na parents no a penalize them and say o mako ya church room na ya punish them go okra na amana ko she den ho ya say ya mampie but obibini no esan say obroni no pese wo no enwie wuye ni ndi no obeka kire o say ukọ we a ukọ school na say ebia ana wo parents kra bowa friend 911 nim see enkwala eko school no bi wo kra no a akwala kitikiti ni ekire no how to call 911 nye bi a adwen po ekire no betima ba say when they are in trouble they have to call but the home minister abrofu ya ye kan masem ya ebetu wo mukrom he no they go through the same things say wo ya de na enya ye ka anso before ebetu wo mukrom he sabio ye nuanu ye ebetu wo mukrom he. Look at the statistics. Since the mentality ne say obroni be brainwash waka cho say wotia oba mfunsuo nti no na wagya homo no because say higher a statue no pese ono duro no na de be ya wo ne me compete nti na make the secret behind the ntia obeka chiro bibini say bibini de say what ten oba de ono broni no wetia ne de ofie ono no aduru higher a we na wo no wagya wo de saa afi no on na mu a onya record ba ku mienu miensa wo driver's license say wo krom ha na unya your friends ye chiutum ba ko asa eno nti no adafo no mo yesua nyamesem yi no mo ma yemfa nyame adwen no enye adwuma say ye nyame adwen wo Ghana no eno na ye nyame adwen wo America. There is no way be a culture sem be any baby na mo nyame adwen no ai wo fie no so no ne yede titi ema no na wo nyame adwen kro no ano aye universal no eno ne yede titi ema wo krom ha tini bia ni won say our children will come out in flying colors tiensre wo nyame bambo no na nya kese wo ye mofre so ne mo mpan mo ye mfo nyame adwen mo ye na sa nyame ebe shrai.
Me pacho me so last me kafa question. How do we as youth strive to make sure we surround ourselves? No, me pacho mo te me nkade.
Yes, we hear you.
Yes. So also you wrote say with like-minded people, meaning say if you are like-minded there, you have to have a common interest. So as I said, nipa na one ne associating him. Oh yes, sure. Say, making sure say that person has your interest, and so whatever you are interested in, it should be something a nipa na so epe. Enti no say wo college. Na say wo na ebia onipa na wo no friends na wo bo no say eniema na what you like na nya ade asa nipa na so pa. One, it's a sign say this is not a person you should associate yourself with. Because if you do that, and actually say, norms, no values, no, you might throw them away. Now I adopt it to honor them. It is always advisable, say, college, feel say, baby, what you do and make you happy. No? Make sure you associate yourself with people as our interest in so more. You can move within that circle now. Now will be for MB influence. Secondly, Ubisa said physically be in church as important. No? Yes, it is. Because one will say repetition, ebwa. Even yesuya dear krana, de be idea no ya, part of you, right? But se usuya dear put de be out for fano washe, every time exam time be do now, you know, adiano like without even looking at it. A good so be always in church. Every time no that niamana sorry a church no still no urenye de emfi because immediately I'll bet you who send ya idea when idea now for a book no back you tend to forget what you are learning no and also to say so I think say yes if you have the chance and that opportunity so it is advisable say there be a just to say there be no betimi asua nyame asem no efi ho no me da ase
me pacho me kakra
you can be
me pacho me so me de kakra ni say ewi ase no de menim ni say obi wo ho a se be ye wo no nneɛma nyinaa kɔ yie kama. Obi wɔ hɔ so a yɛwo no yɛahyehyɛ nneɛma nyinaa si hɔ. But me in particular ne abusua a mewɔ yi deɛ menim ne sɛ ɛyɛ adom bi kɛkɛ ɛna ekura yɛn mu abɛdu saa bere. Ɛno nti ne da biara deɛ meka ne sɛ experience yɛ manya ne sɛ Onyankopɔn obi na asɔ yɛn mu abɛdu saa bere ama mete sɛ nea mete saa nipa no ne Awurade ɔno a yɛde yɛn ho too no so no ɔno na ekura yɛn mu abɛdu saa bere nti sɛ mewɔ biribi wɔ hɔ a mɛkamfo no ama wa ɛno na mɛkamfo ama wo ɛno na woka ne saa no so a nkora no nhyɛ da nte aseɛ papa gye sɛ wode ba fam paa ɛno nti deɛ meka kyerɛ nkora no nyinaa ne sɛ Nyame na ekura yɛn mu ɛno nti sɛ wopɛ baabi pa bi obi wode wo ho atwere no wɔ abrabɔ yi mu na wakɔ w'anim a God first anamo bi a wobetu no biara no fa wɔno di kan wɔno deɛ wode di kan deɛ a ɛne wɔbɛboa wo ɛno nti Awurade mu ayɛ na yɛne mu ahyia yi a moaka deɛ ha mo na yɛn nso yɛakyerɛkyerɛ mu nka mobɛtwu so ɔno mu first na ɔno na aboa bisa ne ho akwankyerɛ na ɔno aboa wo ɛwɔ abrabɔ yi mu meda mo ase.
Yo, and then Mr. Minkabi, maybe pick here for maybe Auntie Gloria this year though. Bible has in Psalm 23, the Bible says, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I don't say, open say goodness and mercy follow her. There's a place to look for it. Sing a shower, there's a place to be. Jabez Bompire saying Yamisha or saying Yamusha be a fancy. So being in the house of the Lord, no, and yet luxury, and yet APA. And we guys say, do we have to physically be in the house of the Lord? Yes. Or say, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. You say, goodness and mercy follow you. And to do that, we must constantly dwell in the house of the Lord. Now, I did be a against this, and I say, Bible say, "Oh, can be a tiny penny so," and so we and you work. There's a way that seems so right in our eyes, young people, and ending a death. My question is, I don't know penny for you now, see some meeting, or money this year to, give us an answer. What chef from Obiaka have been listening to the conversation? Obiaka, the same thing. Why? Experience is the best teacher. All these people were like you and I. Almost so, anyway, we can in the end, they are sharing their life with you. That's like any papa, any mamma. Can you say they were doing? At that time, they thought they were wise in their own way. They thought they knew the world. They were smarter than their parents. Just like parents, so normal parents. But a be any opportunity. Some made mistakes along the way. Some so the nyame boy edomuko anymore. And I think the omokano, I think it's not a banter. However, no, it is to shape our understanding. And see, you who say, any may see bia, never make a mission, say, nothing is new under the sun. The ACBS either. We may say, well, America, until we need to have an identity. But you should understand, say, even though Israel were in Egypt, God didn't want them to lose their identity. They went to Canaan. God wanted them to maintain their identity. Being in a place doesn't mean say pick their culture. Because American culture, yes, it's a melting point of all cultures. And it will be a neighbor frame. But before we have a big problem, and I think the church experienced this some time ago. You think I'm so about Africa, no, they buy Ghana, and yet to a BBA couldn't any finding and you say BBA, and they who say, young people, yes, you're quite Americans here, to Ghana, didn't in Akron, pick America. Later on, we also regret because culture never had no, said one speaker kind, a higher Babylon can say, distraction, be. You can never be with them. Heaven cannot belong to this world. They cannot be, say you are of the world, but be not of the world. And so carry us here, offer the culture. No. Yeah, Christopher, we have one culture, and the culture, they say Christian. And that's our culture, and they Christians. And we need to understand, say, no matter where you are, who you're Christian, that's your culture. It's a whole culture on its own. Christianity is not a title, it's a lifestyle. And every lifestyle depicts a culture. Culture is the way a group of people live or behave. And until we are Christian, who are culture, it's to be careful trying to belong, because our problem as Christians and young people, they say, we want to belong. It's said we will look awkward. And as a base, I catch you. My main son touch one more thing, Obi can friendship as like-minded that more come as me. Bible say, he that walketh with the wise shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Sometimes no, they are going to lead us into distraction. Bible cracker say, bad company corrupts good morals. Ayonko bone say oprapa, and as a subampa. So we need to be very careful the people we choose to be friends. Apostle, let me tell one thing. It's a deception of its highest form. Because Bonsam the person and yes, person will not be doing it one time, but he sows that seed of discord in you right from there. Because no more cultures some money jama mean to be. If I stadium cramming Kobe, maybe some of you will not understand the stadium no is more like occasional being in a schools in Yakushia near athletic competition. But you're quite a young to bush young baby. It's a no more I may not be become a quick school in a who time in yet. My more sorry, Nisa, it's not cameo. It's almost a mention, but almost time a TV. Guess what? I never sang any of those songs when I was with them on campus. The whole school it's about to be there. But when I came home, I found myself singing their songs. It came easily. And when I got to the university, UST, my room, Nana see no a hona grofo from Abuajewa, Omako UST than the Metzman say. Abuajewa no mu say any gospel music piano, or far no more the profane as him. It's too much as I am to. But what you don't know is say profanic words. And the words are by a man nemun no and omodia ko she it uti yesu kan ho a enye yesu kan no moto. But now my experience and many no poku I say man community man bi but moto e ka team no. What I used to do they say me tese nkrofo no ye dedicated kan ma bia me radio. I open my music so loud. I'm the earphones so why? Because say what takes 5 minutes, 5 seconds to get into you will take eternity to come out of you. Mummy and say yes smart. Tina Brony say by beholding you shall be like them. And internet they put everything on our screens so that we keep watching before you don't know. Oh, I said push Brazil also bikini and yashi. And yet gradually they steal us. And to be careful what you set on your eyes. It's make part, what okohona to kwako sina bibiba say kunkwa. Penyimphobia can say maybe so be a fee nko. Be fear then. Yes, yeah, and you can cry. Did him say, yeah, one was shasting and it's yes. Maybe roommate, your cost stage, your froka, or some banana now concepts. I mean, I asked her how much that. Or say, young training question, yeah, seniors, and a cheer for them, right? I didn't mind them, and they first years want to buy. I don't did no more almost so many seniors, nobody don't can't be an accident. And that on all kinds of maybe and con who has when new school cry. Obi a film. So be careful when you think say you are smart, because penny do be a bidder. But crowd said you will be a pay. And my one last thing. A yan say in penny no. Oh, maybe me come as I'm saying, I'm papa. As much as you know your parents, they also know you. So if you are worried, say they will know her. They also worried, say me by dear, meaning say but say their ombre. Look, every good parent being in the weakness. Every good parent. Now, parents, more lines would attest to it, say they don't cease praying for them. Maybe man kids way across my chest, I have already known, and I'm a bomb pie mom. Some of them is not their fault. Some of them don't want nearby. It will, as a parent, who baby a weakness, you keep praying for them. A bit to me, say the opinion Santa Kayano. Ye need ye ma Any parents, young people, yɛne maame na ma yɛne maame ne papa no yɛmfa adwen. Unya deɛ papa no wɔ fie a menim de obiara fie nkɔ sɛ bi mentimi ka sɛ tinkyerɛ a ɔdeɛ ne nkɔ yie a nafa ne sa, but obiara no wɔ abɔnten ɔdɔ wo sɛn wo fiefoɔ. Na obiara so mpɛ sɛ ɔkɔkɔ sɛ anaasɛ ɔkɔnya problem bia. We all wish you well. But sometimes we trust the people out there than the people inside. It's a big mistake. Yɛma Nyame nka yɛn ho, na yɛnchoose well, na yɛntena ne fie. Kakrakra, all these conversations, today has been a very beautiful discussion. Josephine with Tim, no, Nyame nhyira mo. Now, I want us to keep talking, discussing this. So we are root mo nyinaa ba. They know say you guys have laid a foundation there. They will come and continue. No way say mistakes, no, they would also jump over them. Nyame nka mo, me that say.
Thank you so much. This concludes our program for today. I'm very, very thankful that everybody was able to give their points. You guys really made this a really beautiful program. So as we conclude, I'll ask that we all close our eyes for a word of prayer. Our Heavenly and most gracious Father, we'd like to thank you for this wonderful opportunity that you've given us. I'd like to thank you for allowing us to continue our World Pathfinder program this afternoon. Lord, the conversations that we've had actually help us so we can all use in our daily lives, whether we be parents or the youth. Lord, actually, please help us. We can find that we're able to use these lessons that we learn in our everyday life. Lord, actually continue to guide and protect us as our Sabbath is coming to an end. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Thank you to the panel as well. Thank you to the parents. Thank you to the youth leaders for giving us this wonderful opportunity. I will leave the floor to for our Uncle Abraham so he can conclude today's program. Thank you.
Mr. Abraham, what can you say?
Mefa saa akonnwa nso ada Onyankopɔn ase sɛ wɔyɛ yɛn adom na ɛnnɛ nso 70th World Pathfinders Day no yɛn nso yɛnya mu kyɛfa. Nhyira nka ne din sɛ wahwɛ yɛn so from anɔpa bɛdu mpɛmpɛnso yi ɛne programs ahodoɔ a yɛn ho yɛde baeɛ na yɛn nyinaa yɛtumi enjoy yɛ. Mefa saa akonnwa nso bi ma saa ada asɔ mpanyimfoɔ ase sɛ ɔmo maa yɛn akonnwa na yɛn nso yɛtumi di dwumadie sononko. Youth leaders, Nyame nhyira mo wɔ nhyehyɛeɛ. Elder Ben, Nyame nhyira wo sɛ wode w'animuonyam taa yɛn akyi kakra na program no nso ɛyɛ successful. Ɔno a ɔhyɛ aseɛ from our school time, yɛntumi bɔ din yɛda mo nyinaa mo ase during divine service. You all did a great job. Deɛ ɛkyɛn nso koraa ne sɛ awia yi nso dwumadie sononko a mode brɛeɛ no, Nyame nhyira mo nyinaa sɛ mo ne yɛakyɛ experiences. Mpanyimfoɔ a mode mo animuonyam so taa yɛn akyi no, Nyame nhyira mo. Monkɔ so a ntaa yɛn akyi na yɛfom bi a monkɔ so a ntenetene yɛn. Sɛ mpo moka na sɛ mo a mo change bi a yɛbɔ mpaeɛ Nyame yɛ adom a nsɛm a moka no ne nyinaa yɛtie. Definitely mobɛhu nsesaeɛ wɔ yɛn abrabɔ mu na yɛn nso yɛbɛboa na deɛ yɛasua no yɛn nso yɛbɛtumi live with it na yɛn nso yɛahyɛ mo animuonyam. Nyame nhyira mo nyinaa. Yɛsrɛ mo sɛ aberɛ biara nso a mode dwumadie bɛhyɛ yɛn nsa no yɛn nso yɛbɛmmɔ den ne yɛayɛ na ahyɛ Nyankopɔn di animuonyam. Nhyira nka Nyame din sɛ wahwɛ yɛn so de abɛdu mpɛmpɛnso wɔ ne din mu nti amen. Yɛbɛfrɛ yɛ bra a Matthew na ɔde yɛ sundown no abrɛ yɛn.
Happy Sabbath. Pamchabra yade yasanda yade osmin nerba no. Yabesre abina wadi animne ato him 190.
Hymn number 190.
Gotcha.
Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. Amen.
Amen. I'm talking cancer me a day, a baby, yes, some a free. Isaiah chapter 43, chapter 43. See, mommy and Tia Radiasem. Sinafe said ye a radia or ball war. Jacob, na one war, Israel no Erkan ye. Insro na majo, my bow deem my frill. Me, ena or me. Amen. Said on Uncle Pond at the money many. Send us I can cancel me equino. Was in Uncle Pond or boy ye. Now no crana or sad any ye. And our boy ye deem afraid. To any chess in Uncle Pond and Nippon Maha. Tinako Pond chair said, send your bra bonnet tibia. A benny brebiana yabenan yaquine a bear bassa, nay a bear bonino. Only Uncle Pono, pompuye. Tibeni brebiano. Yami and in no say a bomb paye. Nay a Uncle Pohono bonnet fache. Na send your dinner dobano a maya say. O may am not to home and pattern. Brebia yabesson. Ya bomb payas and when Uncle Pon empire, but if was what I'm not home. Any a bonny in a beche. Na Onyankopon abeni brebia no ya na hwehwe se anke bebo abrabanka ese ne fata nenso se nya obo wiase na abone eba wiase no yeso ya betna sase yeso nke ekosi na hina yenso ya be bone nenso se ya bone na ede na anamo be na ese yetu na mo ese yetu ni se ya besra bone fache na se ya mhye bone fache dia ene ne Nyankopon ne nsɛm waka afa ho yenya mu chepa na mmombre so ye bɔ mpa ya asɛ bɔne fakyɛ na yɛsai ɛka yɛm sɛ sɛ Nyankopɔn de bɔne kyɛ na nyɛ sɛ ɔde akyɛkɔti sɛ wɔamfiri bɔne ne ho na sɛ wokɔ so ɛyɛ bɔne na fakyɛ Nyankopɔn so ɔde bɛkyɛ no entumi emmam enti bere ni bere bɛ ne yɛbɛyɛ bɔne na yɛbɛsɛ bɔne fakyɛ na sɛ yɛkae hu sɛ bɔne no yɛgyae anyɛ saa deɛ a Nyankopɔn so ntumi mfa nkyɛ na afei nso sɛ yɛgya bɔne fakyɛ so a ɛwɔ sɛ yɛtwe ho because sɛ Nyankopɔn mpo sɛ wɔde bɔne no kyɛ yɛn a bɔne bi a nipa bi a yɛyɛ no yɛnya ho nsonsansoɔ wɔde bɔne no kyɛ wɔ akyire koraa na wotumi nya bɔne ho nsonsansoɔ te bere ne bere biara no ɛwɔ sɛ yɛakwan yɛnante trene akwan so sɛ Nyankopɔn ne onyam yɛn nso yɛn nsa bɛtumi aka na ɛwɔ mu sɛ Nyankopɔn de bɔne kyɛ deɛ nanso sɛ yɛmane yɛtirim de sɛ Nyankopɔn de bɔne kyɛ nti de bia yɛbɛkɔ so yɛ bɔne a hwɛ na ka sɛ ɛwɔ mu sɛ adom na wɔ hɔ deɛ nanso yɛntena dom ma bɔne no nnɔɔso nti ɛberɛ a yɛwɔ wiase na ɛsɛ yɛhunu sɛ yɛne Nyankopɔn na nam na Nyankopɔn so na akwan nyinaa yɛ kene na ɔyɛ Nyame a ɔne deɛ ɔmpɛ bɔne ɔna brabom ɔmpɛ bɔne wɔ n'asetenam nti sɛ yɛafa Yesu Kristo ate ho sɛ yɛne ne bɛnante deɛ a ɛwɔ sɛ abrabɔ pa ɛna ɛsɛ nyinaa yɛde yɛbɔ na sɛ yɛde Kristo ate ho so na sɛ yɛama yɛakwan anyɛ Kristo anante yɛamfo yɛakwan anto Kristo akwan so na sɛ yɛde edin to yɛn ho sɛ yɛ Kristofo but yɛbɛbɔ bra bi ɛsa Nyankopɔn ano onyam no yɛn nsa ntumi nka na yɛwɔ gyidie sɛ Nyankopɔn bra wahyɛ yɛbɔ sɛ yɛyɛ ne mma na afei wagye yɛn firi ɔhaw nyinaa mu no na afei wabɔ yɛn din afrɛ yɛn no bɔhyɛ a wade ahyɛ ne mma sɛ daakye wɔba bɛfɛ yɛn nyinaa kɔ asomdwoe mu no yɛn nso sɛ yɛnante n'akwan mu na sɛ yɛyɛ neɛ sɛ ne fata ɔno nso Nyankopɔn no ne bɔhyɛ no obɛdi so ama yɛn nti ɛberɛ a yɛn nyinaa yɛbɛkɔ fie no deɛ yɛbɛtena asɔredan mu ɛfiti anɔpa ɛbɛsi anwummerɛ yi ɛnya ne sɛ yɛma yɛ akwan ɛyɛ yɛma yɛ abrabɔ yɛ abrabɔ pa na Kristo so a wɔde adua yɛn mu no yɛsɛ yɛda no adi ɛwɔ mmɔntene so na afei Nyankopɔn so ne ho nsɛm no yɛtumi ɛka kyerɛ amansan nyinaa ɛma nkurɔfoɔ hu sɛ Nyankopɔn wɔdɔ yɛn na afei ɔbɛgye ne mma na sɛ daakye bi na ɔba a ɔbɛka yɛn nyinaa na ɔde yɛn nyinaa akɔpie n'ahemman no mu nti ɛnɛ deɛ mewɔ de ma asafo no ne sɛ yɛn nyinaa yɛnante Yesu akwan so yɛmfa yɛn ani nto ne so sɛ ɔno ɛna ɔbɔɔ yɛn na afei ɔbɛgye yɛn sɛnea ɛtwerɛ no ɛreka no ɛde ma asɛm no bɛsie nti yɛn nyinaa yɛbɛkate yɛn ani na baabi a yɛwɔ biara yɛabɔ mpaeɛ. Nyame Tumfoɔ ayɛyie ne n'ase nka wo din Nyankopɔn na anwene yɛn wo na abɔɔ yɛn Nyankopɔn wo ne yɛsu wonim yɛbra wonim sɛnea yɛabrabɔ teɛ wo Nyankopɔn yɛnim sɛ woabɔ yɛn din ana wafrɛ yɛn yɛnim sɛ wɔka yɛn ho aberɛ nyinaa mu Yehowa bɔne bi a ama yɛayɛ bia yɛserɛ sɛ w'adom ho mmɔborɔ nti fa bɔne nyinaa kyɛ yɛn yɛsɛ sɛ ma tumi ne w'anuonyam no nka yɛn ho Papa Yesu yɛserɛ sɛ kaaka yɛn yɛasetena ne abrabɔ mu enwuma Papa Yesu ne nsusuɛ nyinaa yɛserɛ sɛ ma wo din no nyɛ kɛseɛ ɛwɔ mu ma yɛn Papa Yesu ma w'asɛm no ɛne yɛn nante ma w'asɛm no ɛne yɛ kaakaafo Papa Yesu a wɔma mpo sɛ yɛkɔ bɔne bi ho a wabɛyɛ ɔdomfo Papa Yesu na ɛkaaka yɛn yɛhu sɛ Onyankopɔn woyɛ nyame baako pɛ yɛhu sɛ woyɛ nyame kronkron agya pa yɛn na wɔwɔ nante Papa Yesu yɛ abrabɔ ɛte kyima a yɛsɛ sɛ ma wo honhom no ɛnyɛ yɛ kaakaafo Papa Yesu berɛ a na ɔtwe ɛbɛkɔ awieyɛ yi yɛde wo ma nyinaa ɛhyɛ wo nsa Papa Yesu yɛsɛ sɛ ka yɛn ho siesie yɛn adeɛ mu so ne ɔhaw Papa Yesu yɛsɛ sɛ pagu ma yɛn Papa Yesu ɔma bi wɔ dadwen agya pa ɛde ne nyinaa ɛbɛwɔ anim wode woyɛ nkonimdifoɔ ɛnim sɛ sɛ wɔka yɛn ho a ne ɔma nyinaa bɛyɛ din Papa Yesu deɛ ɔwɔ yareɛ deɛ ɔwɔ ɔhaw Papa Yesu deɛ ɔmo nyinaa ɛhyɛ wo nsa Papa Yesu deɛ abɛsensɛn wie mu Nyankopɔn nkoto yɛn anim wɔ deɛ Papa Yesu aba a ɔma ayɛ nyinaa yɛ daadwe Nyankopɔn woni ɛdeɛ ɛnim sɛ sɛ wɔka yɛn ho a sɛ yɛnam esu mu kora na Onyankopɔn wobɛtwitwa gye yɛn nti Papa Yesu ma ɔma nyinaa nante asomdwoe mu ne yi wɔwuo yareɛ nsan yareɛ Papa Yesu ɛfiri ne nyinaa mu ka yɛn ho na wɔyɛ abrabɔ yɛ nkonimdie Papa Yesu na ɔtwe yɛnkyɛ wɔtua mu nsɛm nko a adeɛ mu so ɔhaw deɛ yɛsusu din nti ma ne nyinaa mpa mu ma yɛn ka yɛn ho na hyɛ wo ma ne onyam na ɔtwe biɔfo yɛn nyinaa yɛbɛhyia ɛsɛ yɛbɛhyia na biribi ayɛ nkonimdie a waseda no a yɛyie no yɛsa de bɛma wo wei na ɔma yɛsɛ Yesu Kristo din nti amen.
Amen. It's been a wonderful day. Thanks you never jet to Musa. Into Penny Oponya Sante. You from Penny for Eddie Hedge Yahamau. Na announcement Bena says some more or my Pony piano or Jamaya.
Open AB and any team. That when you say my idea. In fact, it was a short notice, but the program has been very successful. And that was a strong coupons. Sorry, software, sorry, penny for church board and name now for that was a pa media. Mode osie eye oyo na maye de amaye na hye onyame di nkronkron no enunyam yenim se de mohwe ye bia no onyame dom so obehye mo anamu eno nti no ye da wase whatsapp nyen so adofo no mo ye de yesum ni nyina aba na wiye na yese onyame se onkan ho na wotwe ya ye besi mu aye ni mu asem yi no omfa ye nyina nko na afei no nsan fa mmehie mu bi mu mwere mfiri sɛ nyame yɛ adom a na wɔtwe dwumadie no abɛkɔ so saa nyame yɛ adom ɔkyena Bible studies wɔ hɔ nkɔda mpaebɔ na afei fie da nso ɛyɛ youth meeting nyame nka yɛn ho na wɔnhyira yɛn ɛwɔ n'adom nti amen ɛne adɔfo no ɛma yɛn nyinaa yɛ ho mespa sɛ yɛdi ntete mu a wɔahwɛ me no